four of the very best teams from the Onward community. We're going to fight it out here in our brilliant tournament.
Reloading.
Drone deploy, drone deploy.
Two here.
Behind you.
Dead, he's dead. No one in mid one, no one in mid one.
Teams from all across the world have been competing for the last few months to get their chance here to be in San Jose, California for Oculus Connect 5. And we finally have our two final teams making their way through, battling it out for months through countless matches to get here today. And it's going to be exciting. I'm Jason Kaplan to bring all the action for you on the analysis desk, joined by two lovely other people. We have Nightfire from G-Man, and we have Sleepy from his team as well. From the Danglers, the team I hoped to make it through into this main event as I was rooting them on back in Leicester. But first of all, guys, OC5, San Jose, how are you guys feeling?
It has been an absolute treat so far. We have had some fantastic series. SMC versus GlobalChem was a joy to cast. I had such a fantastic time watching that. And then beginners proving that they're ready to play. They came in and did really good against Boss Fight.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. The matches between SMC and Globo were fantastic, nail biters. We went to 3 maps, which is always what we want to see as viewers, as casters, as players, because we want to see those really tough grudge matches in an arena like this one. So I think that one definitely led the day in really well. And Boss Fight and Beginners was also a really good matchup. So I think what we'll be seeing here tonight will definitely play to that.
And speaking of the arena, it looks fantastic. It looks amazing. If you guys aren't here in person, you don't really understand the true scale of the entire stage. And to imagine, not to rub salt in the wound here, but imagine being on that stage playing you two. But of course, all this is brought to you by Intel. Love that these guys are supporting this over the course of the entire season that we've had the VR League. But it all comes down to this, guys, and this is where things get really interesting. And I know there's a lot of people out there as well who don't have much experience with Onward, who don't know a ton about the game, and maybe we should kind of give like an overarching idea of what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, Onward's a super physical game. Like I said earlier, almost every single mechanic in this game caters to simulating something in real life, whether it's throwing grenades or hitting that radio comm, putting a needle in the syringe. I mean, there's so many different ways that you interact with your environment in this game. Yeah,
and the verticality of the physical movement is a lot more so than we see in some of these other games that we'll see featured on the stages here at OC5. The Onward players are some of the most in-depth players as far as their movement up and down in their play spaces, going from standing to prone to crawling to down to crouching to standing again. It's a lot of toll on your body, especially if you have to play like we did in Leicester, multiple rounds, multiple matches back to back. That exhaustion, that stamina really plays into effect there.
Yeah, and you're going to be very tired if you do have to play back-to-back games, which Beginners, luckily for them, had a pretty clean sweep come into this one. But we do have to take a look at the format because you guys need to understand of how one team does take victory in this grand final. It's a best of 3. First of 2 maps does win, and it all comes down to who can get those first 4 points. But Nightfire, to get those 4 points, how do the teams do it? What are the 2 ways?
I mean, there's a few, I guess there's 2 basic ways, and there's also a couple of unique ways you can kind of get some points. The main ways, obviously, if you're defending, you can kill the enemy team. That's 1 point. You can defend the objective all 6 minutes. That's 1 point. 1 point. If you're attacking, you can attack the objective and capture it. That's 2. Or you can kill the entire team, and that's 1. There's some unique situations that we can start to get into where you talk about how the Volk can actually defuse their own objective and only reduce the casualty to 1 point instead of letting Marsoc cap and get 2.
Right, and Sleepy as well. There's substitutions in this game. We talk about the exhaustion factor, but also the physicality that comes into it. If you're a taller player, you have the opportunity to play certain maps a certain way, and we've seen teams already today do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword being a taller player as well as being a shorter player. The taller guys, they're able to see over bits of cover that us shorter guys like myself and some of the other players in the community that we can't see over. But at the same time, we're able to hide behind a lot more pieces of cover more effectively and easier because we're already so small. So being a smaller target, definitely not a bad thing, but being able to see over certain places in certain maps are definitely going to be beneficial to certain players as well.
And of course, we should take a quick look at how the teams actually got to this point as well, because it comes down to how they qualified. We had 2 teams coming from Europe, Boss Fight and Beginners. We had 2 teams from NA with GlobalChem and SMC Tactical. I'm actually really happy we had NA play NA in the first match and EU play EU, lead us into a battle of the continents, EU versus NA. As you can see here, Global Chem had a 2-1 victory. The #1 team in the world and have been the #1 team for such a long time, but they barely beat out SMC.
It was just that first map they lost, and it looked like SMC, they could ride momentum. They could take that second map. They could take the whole series from them, but it started to crumble. Global Chem, they said, no, no, no. We're going to play our style of game now. We're going to be the ones that are going to take this series, and they grabbed those last 2 maps.
And Sleepy, the other match we did have, beginners and boss fight. If you got up and went to get a drink or went to the restroom or whatever, you missed the entire match. That was a slaughter.
Yeah, and I did. I ended up, going back and getting changed during that matchup, so I didn't get to see all of it. But I did catch the beginning and the end of it, and from what I saw, yeah, it definitely looked a bit one-sided. But at the same time, there's also cases in Onward where the scoreboard lies. Even though it's a huge point gap, the actual round comparison is sometimes very intense. Sometimes each round is going to a 1v1 every single time, and it's tense, and it's to the last second. So not always is the scoreboard a very accurate interpretation of the match itself. But yeah, it seems like beginners definitely had the leg up on Boss Fight today, and that's unfortunate. Boss Fight are a great team, and they definitely deserve to be here. But I think the 2 teams that have put in the most work have come out on top here today, and so I think we're going to see a lot of that later on throughout these matches.
Well, speaking of beginners, maybe we should actually take a look at the roster for the team that they'll be bringing you for here today. They actually do have a bigger roster than what you are just seeing on the screen for the potential for substitutes to come in. But let's start things off with here, Nightfire. Who's the person you're looking at this team to be the focal point?
Well, I mean, I hate to be repetitive, but we're going to look at the brother duo here, the Woods brothers. I guess we have duo brothers on both sides, beginners and on Global Chem, but I think those are the 2 guys you got to kind of keep your eye out for.
What about you, Sleepy? Do you kind of think the same thing?
Yeah, I would actually say Smoils is someone to look out for. He is a bit of a wild card. He's an LMG specialist. He likes to carry a lot of rounds with him when he's going down range, and yeah, he can tend to get some pretty crucial picks at specific moments. So I think we're going to need to keep our eyes on him as well during this series.
Well, now we should take a look at their opponents and see what's going to happen for this one, because this is a team that's been tried and tested for a long time, and this is the team, most importantly, these 5 that we're going to see start off this first map here. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes as we kick off into the map. But guys, again, we have to break down who's the key person.
I mean, it's so intimidating to look at Global Chem's roster. Everybody on this roster is powerful. Pants, Arsenic, Thunder, Otto, Wrath. It's just people you have to be careful for at all times, and it's their entire lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, I mean, it doesn't matter what makeup or what player roster they're running per match. I mean, yes, each individual player will have specific qualifications that make them better or less qualified to play that map, but as a team, they do so well at working together, at covering each other, at providing each other with support, that even if they were to play their weakest roster, which is still a strong roster, they're still going to get great results because they have that teamwork, they have that cohesiveness that makes for a great Onward team, and this is why we see them at the top of the leaderboards constantly, because they put in a lot of time.
And speaking of great teams, they might not be a team in Onward, but Stack Up, actually one of the supporters of this whole event. Luckily for us, we actually do have someone on the desk who got to actually work with them back at an event we had in Leicester not too long ago. Can you give us your quick experience with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to go along to the very first Onward Leicester Invitational event over in the UK back in June. That was a special event. I got selected out of the Onward community as a veteran of the United States Air Force to go over and have a good time with a lot of my buddies and friends here from the Onward community, as well as just kind of see what the VR Competitive Game League is like, and it was awesome. Everything was great. I had a blast. The guys from Stack Up are really great guys, and their mission is very important to me, not only as a veteran, but as a gamer as well.
Yeah, it's, I think, very important. Any organization that supports veterans and active duty members, I'm always fully behind. But guys, guess what? It's time.
Yes.
We got our players coming out on stage. Sean Charles, why don't you take it away?
Absolutely. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Oculus Connect 5 and the VR League Grand Finals. It has been an amazing year in VR esports. Over 5,000 matches were played, meaning players donned the Rift for almost 10,000 hours of competitive play, all with one goal: to come and stand here, to play on this very stage in front of all of you. From Russia to Brazil, from Finland to Turkey. There were 20 nationalities represented. It's truly growing. And I can tell you that the teams that are about to do battle here are going to make it all worthwhile. Are you guys ready to meet our two finalists? Come on, guys. This is the creme de la creme of the Onward world. Are you ready to meet our finalists? So let's start at the beginning with the beginners. Absolute champions already. They've gone the whole way, and they're led here by the man himself, Killinger. You're standing here on the stage. It's VR League Grand Finals. What's going through your mind?
We are very excited to be here. It's been a long way for us to get here, and we're fully determined to get to the end.
Now, standing in front of these people, it's a different experience. You're here at the LAN. You've done really well today. What did you tell the guys going into this?
Just play our game, be chill, be happy that we're here.
Be happy we're here, be chill, and play our game. Better words I could not have said. Guys, please, put your hands together for the beginners.
Also, shout out to our teammate Kansai who couldn't get here.
Shout out to Kansai. Thank you very much, guys. But of course, they need an opponent. And one team would arguably be the absolute team to be facing right here on this stage. Guys, are you ready to meet them? Come on, guys, are you ready to meet them? Then without further ado, let's meet Globocam. Otto, you guys are a big deal in the Onward world, and now you're standing here on this VR League final stage. What's going through your mind?
I'm excited, man. This is an amazing stage. It's amazing to be a participant in this.
Now, it's been a long day. You guys have had to put in the hours. You've had to work your way to get here. Standing your way as beginners. They seem cool, calm, and collected. What's your vibe?
We're very focused right now. We're ready to play this game. Put on a show.
Put on a show. Any words you want to share with the audience? These guys seem to really love you.
Thanks for being here, everybody. This is going to be amazing. I hope you enjoy it.
We shall enjoy it indeed. Guys, please, to your places. Let's get this underway. Guys, it's finals time. We're one game away. This is it. Best of 3. It's going to be done. These guys are going to go start getting ready up. Obviously over here, the beginners are getting ready. Again, are you guys ready for this? Come on, VR League Finals. Are you ready? Fantastic. I can tell you one person who is always ready is the man, the myth, the legend. It's Kaplan.
Thank you very much for that, Sean. I appreciate it. I love when you host the stage because you always talk me up so well. But guys, let's start things off by talking about Onward again. In general as a game, we talked about the physicality of it, right? Yep. But let's talk about the difference between this and VR shooting game compared to a traditional shooting game. Like, first of all, where do you want to start with Nightfire? The differences.
Well, I think what you're starting to see is that people are trying to make things feel more real because you're missing weight to your guns. It's one of the things that you just don't have. You don't have any recoil to your guns either. And so to be holding essentially what is incredibly light touch controllers up and tricking your brain into thinking you're holding a heavy rifle, it just doesn't really work out. So that's why you see actually some of these mounts, people will put weights in them too, because they want to feel the weight of what should be the gun in their hands.
And Sleepy as well. Like there's so many things that are different. Like, for instance, well, you can't communicate easily with your team. It's not like you can hit a single button and talk to them and them only. We should start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication is very key in this game. And also, yeah, as you mentioned, there's no like team chat channel. You don't just press T to talk to your team. You just speak if you're close by to one another. Like if Nightfire and myself are in game and I need to speak to him, I don't necessarily have to use my radio to speak with my team if they're close enough to me. However, if the enemy is also within close proximity of that, they can hear our conversation as well. So sometimes they may be able to set up an ambush because they hear us coming. But yeah, utilization of the comms, both in the radio for long-range communications as well as in close communications, are great for using in this game, and the radio especially. And as you've mentioned earlier in today's cast, a lot of teams have even come up with a sort of Morse code per se, where they just give a few clicks on the radio to signify a specific answer to a question that might have come out from a teammate.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking earlier, we went back and looked at some footage. You were mentioning that Sickness was actually vocally yelling different numbers as he approached that one defensive position, as he tried to stop the cap on Suburbia. He was actually yelling 8, 7, 3, 2, 1, so that he could mentally get into the head of the person trying to punch in the code, because you have to memorize 7 digits and then enter it in. If someone's out there yelling different numbers, they can trick you up and prevent you from capping.
And to be honest, there's so many things we can actually talk about when it comes to Onward, how it's different than a traditional FPS game you would see on like mouse and keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
But we got map vetoes. We got maps coming into this one. We need to see what will be played here between these two teams, because both of them play very different styles. And of course, substitutions will play a major factor into what we do see and what rosters we do see come out.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Arsenic is in this first one for Suburbia, but I do think we're going to see him come into that Global Chem roster for Q1 and Downfall 100%. He is a... Just
rush through the map picks right there. Like, you're ready to get away, right? You're ready to see this one kick off. Like you did say really quickly, Suburbia is our first map choice, followed up by Quarantine, and then ending the series out on Downfall. Okay, so let's just dive into this one then. Suburbia, you're saying we're most likely not going to see Arsenic, but why? Why is that, and where would we see him then?
I think we would typically see Arsenic in what you tend to have as longer range maps. Just kind of looking at Quarantine and Downfall, if you're looking from top down, they just have so many more long range angles to take advantage of, where you just don't have that in Suburbia. Everything is close quarters. There's no chance for you to get a snipe. There's no chance for you to get a long range pick. It's someone's going to be right up in your face, maybe a shrub away from you.
And Sleepy as well, looking at the map picks we do have. Obviously, these two teams have a very different style when it comes to this one. Everyone knows EU plays a lot slower than NA. Do you think that's going to play a big part into how Global Chem have to read into beginners?
Yes and no. I think Global Chem is really good about reading their opponent and playing a style themselves, whether it be attacking or defending, that caters to the style of their opponent. They know that if their opponent plays slow and methodical, then they need to make sure and not take too many risks, not peek too many times, not re-peek the same corner if they do see someone and try and get greedy with their kills. But at the same time, Global Chem is also able to play that slow and methodical game as well, and it's very effective for them. So no, I don't really think Global Chem will have any issues with it per se. I think they'll be able to adapt really well, but beginners will bring a good fight, so we'll see how much adapting Global Chem just has to do.
So then, looking at the maps in particular, Nightfire, do you think any of these maps favor a specific team?
I almost want to say beginners have a strong chance to do well on Suburbia because they have the potential to play it so slow that it's going to throw off the typical pacing of Globochem. Beginners are, like we said, a slower paced team. And then I think if they can get that first map, they have a chance on Quarantine. If they let it go too long, if we get to Q1 and Downfall, I don't know how they're gonna shape up against Globochem on Downfall.
So to me, that reads into saying that you expect Globochem to win the series. I mean, I think I'm with you as well. Like, to me, they're definitely going to be the favorites, but obviously both teams would have a very different path. Sleepy, are you in agreement with that about Globochem?
I tend to favor Globochem more, but I'm not saying that beginners definitely don't have a chance. I think we're going to see a good set of games here, and I think it could be anyone's match, but I do slightly favor Globochem here in this series.
Can you kind of go into that a little bit of why you favor them?
I think it's just their commitment that really plays that just plays into it the most. That they put in a lot of time, and not saying that the beginners don't, but Globochem, those guys are on with each other every night. They always are in the same lobbies, even if they're not playing Onward, even if they're playing a different game, even if they're playing a 2D game, for example, they still play together. And that's amazing. That builds a teamwork, even outside of the game, that's just second to none. And I think that shows in their play style.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, 20 to 30 hours as a squad?
It's a long time, yeah.
Each week, yeah.
Holy cow.
And that doesn't include like individual playing. That's just team playing, not your own practice time.
Exactly.
It's really nuts. It's dedication, you know? I mean, the game is fun, don't get me wrong, and I love playing it for hours a day, but to be putting that much effort in into really trying to just play well as a team, because that's the only way to do it. You can't just play the game alone by yourself and get as good as these guys. There's no way.
Right. So we're looking at beginners. We do have our maps as well. Let's take a look at the roster one more time, because I want you two to break down with the maps we do have chosen, where you expect who to play really well. So let's start things off, Sleepy. Dr. Killinger, I mean, being like the main man of the team, but the Woods brothers, as you guys mentioned before, are always ones to look out for. So Suburbia, who's the key player for you?
For Suburbia, I'm going to heavily rely on Smoils here. I think his LMG play is going to come into a good effect. He's going to be able to use that thing to give suppression, to allow his teammates maybe to push up a specific lane in order to keep the enemy's heads down while they're making that push and get them into an advantageous position in order to get the pick and then move on and utilize a different route to the objectives. I also think Killinger will be one to look at. He is kind of the team's tactician to sorts, and so we'll probably be seeing a few interesting plays that he's been coming up with over the last few weeks as beginners have prepared to come here to OC5 to battle it out with Globo. So I'd say, yeah, Dr. Killinger and Smoils are two of my players to look for in the Suburbia map. As far as Quarantine and Downfall, I'm going to probably say Cushberries and the Woods brothers will be the ones to look for, as I think they probably have the better long-range shots.
Okay, and then of course we do have their opponents, obviously Nightfire, Globochem. We got to cast that insane best-of-3 series that did happen. Going on to our maps we have now chosen with Suburbia, with Quarantine, with Downfall. The thing is, to me, I look at the roster and I think about Toast, who had an amazing game in the series. But I also think about Thunder Pilot, who had a couple of series of unfortunate events, I'll call it for him.
Yeah, we did kind of highlight those. I know he's a little upset about that. But, I mean, Toast had 10 kills on, I believe it was Bazaar. The dude is an absolute monster right now. He's feeling so loose that you gotta watch out for what he's doing. Just kind of, if you're looking at the screen there, you can see they're planning out their strategies right now as we speak in that lobby. They're getting everything ready. They're writing on that whiteboard, let's go here, let's attack this, watch out for this potential attacker. Raf's gonna be over on that east side. I mean, you can get all sorts of information out of that.
If I'm not mistaken, we even saw on the screen there, I think they pointed out where Raf wanted to nade, Raphael, they wanted him to actually throw a grenade to predict where an enemy was gonna be. And speaking of set nades, and I know you and I talked about it a lot, Nightfire, but Sleepy, we can get your opinion on this. Nade throwing, it's such a, it's a skill in the game that you honestly could spend hours on and still never perfect.
Absolutely. It's an art form in this game almost. You really only see a few key players, and I will say that it's spread between all of the regions, between North America and EU. But yeah, there's a few key players who are just magical with grenades. I mean, they can get them to land on point where they need them. If they need an air burst to be able to take out a guy who's maybe behind some cover, they know how to utilize that timing, that cooking, that frag. And Globochem are one of the teams that know how to do that. They have some fantastic airburst grenades. We saw them play cargo against SMC a few weeks ago, and the grenades on that map were just crazy. They've obviously put a lot of work into training grenades for very popular spots, and it's worked out for them very well in the end.
And just to reiterate for everyone at home who might not play Onward, or for people in the audience, it's not like you can just hit a button and you have a set distance that the nade's going to go, right? It literally depends on how hard you throw that grenade. And speaking of how hard, Mr. Beefy from SMC, he's got a cannon on his arm because he threw a grenade, I feel like, halfway across the map.
Yeah, that was a really impressive toss. It was a treat to see because you could watch that arc from so far away, crossing 2 streets, going all the way in, right behind 2 members of Global Chem and detonating. It was just beautiful. It's stuff like that that makes it so fun to watch. And I mean, you'll even hear fans of the game get excited about smoke grenades, because a well-placed smoke, that's fun to see. It's, oh, that was a skilled toss. That's something you can't just do. He managed to put that smoke grenade right where he wanted it.
Yeah, and speaking of grenades in general, smoke or the HE kind, Sleepy on Suburbia, this is a map, especially when you have the uplink in the house, in the center of the map, that nades, you need to be able to land perfectly, because that second floor position where defenders can hold from is so hard to actually dislodge them from it.
Absolutely. I'd say in particular flash grenades and frag grenades are probably going to be favorites of teams when they're attacking that objective. They're great for breaching tactics in order to get up those stairs, because it is a tough area to get up, especially if the defenders are well placed up there. If they're entrenched at the top of the stairs, or even watching that stair set, it's going to be hard to get in there. So a lot of great teams will kind of rush one man up the stairs about halfway, toss that flash in, make sure the team is nice and blind, or even toss a frag in, get them behind cover, and then push up. So as soon as that flash hits, bang, teams moving upstairs, their guns, they're clearing their corners, they're checking their angles, and they're getting the picks, especially in the higher tier teams.
And on that note, when we were casting together, you mentioned a secret strategy of some teams involving the grenade. Can you kind of remind us of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it happen once, and maybe only once, from Globochem. So we might have it here on Suburbia. Hopefully no one's listening and getting any secret strats here. But what they typically will do is they'll take a grenade, pull the pin, something you have to do, put it back on their chest, let it go, and then charge up the stairs so that they have their gun drawn. Like we saw earlier, typically that first guy up the stairs is dead. He knows he's going to die, but he wants to get as deep as he can up that stairwell, so when he gets shot, maybe he gets a pick with his rifle, but that grenade drops on his chest, picks up a couple more, lets your team follow you up nicely and try and get that cap on objective.
Or in other cases, you actually pull the pin, you make a sound cue, and someone comes rushing down the stairs against you.
Yeah.
And luckily, we actually do have some replays from the match we did cast together with SMC up against Global Chem, so we can see some things, not only on Suburbia, obviously, but obviously on Quarantine here as well. And Global Chem, they had a very rough start. You can see Pancake there. Such a close chance of finishing that uplink.
I thought that one was over right there. When I saw Pancake manage to get in there, and I believe it was Otto who was still left on the objective or over here in this area, in the center burning. When he was off the objective and Pancake had made it into that garage next to the uplink in the gas station area, I thought it was over. I did not think Otto was going to make it back over there in time to even attempt to take out Pancake.
And the thing is, we have to keep in mind that the uplink is 2 points, and that completely changes the way you defend or attack. And we talked about this a little bit on our cast, but we should obviously bring it up yet again. Yeah. If you're down and the enemy team has 2 points and they're attacking against you, they can finish the entire map in that one attacking round.
Yeah, so let's put up a hypothetical here. We're all the last guy on the team. There's only one member left on the team. He's defending. He realizes, shoot, I'm not close enough to objective to kill the enemies who are going to cap. They're going to get 2 points. What do I do? Well, as defender, I'll pull out my pad. I'll punch in a code of my own, and that's going to defuse the uplink so that the people that are trying to cap it cannot get 2 points, and it's going to force them to only get 1. It guarantees them 1 point if that defuse goes out, but they cannot get 2. So there is a way to shut down if that cap from happening and from losing an entire series off of something like that. But it's hard, and frankly, I don't think I've seen anybody use it in a league match yet.
And Sleepy, we saw, back in Leicester as well, so many ninja caps. You can hear, obviously, the tablet being taken out. Again, audio is a very major factor when it comes to the game, but we haven't seen too many sneaky plays. And do you think that's due to teams having the pressure on their shoulders of playing here live in front of an audience?
I think that could play into it a little bit, but I also think that I saw a lot of very tight defensive strategies come out today in the matches. I don't think any team really wanted to give up any caps or any points that they didn't have to, especially when they were defending. So I think the tighter defenses had more to say about why we didn't see any real sneaky ninja caps. But, it's one of those things that it just takes some time. We might see some here.
I'm hoping.
In the finals.
I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing more hype than seeing that kind of be snuck through, especially when they're like sitting in the edge of a smoke and they're sitting there hitting all the numbers in. Yeah. And again, for people who don't know much about the game, we should kind of say how you actually send the code to the uplink, because it's not like you just hit a button. It's very difficult to do.
No, I mean, most games you think about uplinks, it's just you planting a bomb or you pushing, like you said, one key. This one, there's a 7-digit code, and it's actually a 2-step process. You have to pull out your pad, 3 steps. Pull out your pad, check the code, memorize that 7-digit code, go back and enter in that 7-digit code, and you don't see the code as you enter it in. So it's all up in your head. It's all. You actually will have players who will recite the code if they're attacking to themselves at the start of a round as they're running. You'll just hear them say random numbers and thinking, what are they doing? Well, they're trying to memorize that code. So if they can cap, they have it memorized already, and they can just go straight to the code and punch it in.
And we saw, like, right there with seeing Pancake, like, there was a real chance you could have entered that code. And, you know, if you were to think back on the matches you guys have played and the ones that I've casted and seen, there's been so many critical moments where if someone hit a number like a second quicker or a millisecond quicker, that actually could have turned the tides completely for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a few caps at the very last UK Invitational and that SMC won to get here. Where there were some crazy moments on the uplink. Some uplinks that took just a little bit too long. They had a great, nice, long time frame to get the cap in. Unfortunately, they just didn't get it for whatever the reason. The nerves couldn't remember a difficult code sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw a lot of missed opportunity caps, and then we saw a lot of great ninja caps there. But yeah, those 7 digits can really get to you sometimes, especially when you have a repeating digit. And you know, everyone has their own way of memorizing. Some like to make a tune out of it. Others have patterns they like to try and memorize.
I have a goldfish memory, so unfortunately I can't remember many numbers.
You throw someone else in there also yelling out a few other numbers too. Yeah,
that
makes
help.
It even more harder.
I mean, the thing is, like, speaking of the communication, we talked about Thunder Pilot. He had a interesting time earlier on. You can use communication to trick your enemies.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you have been downed and you have not been actually eliminated, you can still communicate. And we did see Pancake earlier on, as we were kind of theorizing, or you were kind of theorizing, that he said, okay, just res me, I'm around the corner. And Thunder Pilot and the enemy team literally ran around the corner, resed him, and then Pancake immediately killed him.
Yeah, and I think if we're going to talk about comms and when you're down, also if you are downed as a player, you can reach down to the floor and radio in information to your team. So even if you're downed and you're not dead, you're able to give information to your squad. It's why you'll actually see a lot of these top tier teams shooting down to players, even if they know they've been killed. They want to put a couple more bullets into that body to make sure no information's getting out.
And of course, there's obviously a big difference in between this and traditional FPS games. Being a military simulator, there's a lot of different choices you can do in your kit. It's not like you just, pick your gun and that's it. There's a lot of thought going into, like, do I need night vision? Do I need scopes? And you can kind of walk us through that really quickly.
Yeah, so you have, I believe it's 8 points in order to spend on your loadout. Obviously, your main weapon that you choose within your class, there are different classes. You have things like Rifleman, Specialist, which is like SMG, Automatic Rifleman for the LMG classes, and then Marksman, Designated Marksman for the long-range stuff. Your initial weapon costs a few points. Obviously, different weapons have different point costs, and then the equipment and the accessories for those weapons also have points cost as well. Not to mention you have your utility, your night vision, your body armor, your syringes, flash, smoke, and frag grenades. All of that taking up those precious, precious 8 points. So you really have to figure out what's going to work best. How are you going to best have the most efficient chances with your weapon, with what accessory setup? What utility are you going to need for the match? Are you going to need to throw smokes to cross lanes? Are you going to need to throw smokes to cloud up the objective and get in for a cap? Or are you going to need flashbangs to maybe disorient your enemy when you come into an ambush situation or a frag grenade because you know where a specific player likes to play a lot? So yes, that utility, that loadout system, very crucial for the team makeup or for a lot of these teams. Absolutely.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, before we do get into this one, I want to hear your predictions for the series really quickly. Sleepy, I'm sorry, I'm going to start with you. Who do you think's taking this and what scoreline?
Again, I want to lean...
Really quickly, though.
I want to...
Just give me the score.
Okay, I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1... 2-1 Globo.
Okay, Nightfire, your choice, really quickly.
2-1 beginners.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's head to your caster duo. It's going to be Blue, and it's going to be Radar Head to take you through this Grand Finals.
Thank you very much, Jason, and let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Grand Finals now here for Onward. We're starting things off on Suburbia. The beginners going up against Globochem, and I'm here casting with Radar Head. Radar Head, we're getting into our first map now. A lot of these folks have never seen Onward before. Let's describe exactly what's going on.
All right, as we can see here, we got the
Beginners are Volk, they're defending. On the middle objective, you can see the white dot is an uplink satellite. And what we have here are also Globochem, Marsok, their attackers. What they're going to try and do is get an uplink, which gives them 2 points. To get that uplink, they need to get a tablet out, enter a code, and get those 2 points.
Absolutely, and of course, if they're still able to win the round through the normal method of just knocking out their opponents, that will still net them 1 point. And as another quick reminder, it's 4 points to win. We can already see the folks from Globochem starting to wrap around. This is always a fun uplink point as well. We can talk a little bit about this and just why the defenders are basically stacking directly on top of that uplink point, and it's because it proves itself relatively easy to defend from that position, but of course, they have to be very careful of things like grenades, which could be chucked in the window and could ruin their entire day with just one of them, really.
Absolutely. Beginners are famous for this defense. They're the only team in the league that put 4 players up on that objective. And it's the reason why is that that's where the objective is. If you get a player up there and there's no defense up there, getting that cap, stopping that cap from outside the building is almost impossible. So they put all their eggs in one basket. And it has paid off in the past, but Globochem have defeated this exact defense in the past.
We're going to have to see if they can do that. They've already gone into their normal strategy and have started to swarm around the entirety of the building. They have not yet found their entry point just yet, though, so they're holding back, trying to see if they can fish out any of their opponents, and more importantly, play for intelligence. A large part of the early minute or two, I would say, of these rounds is purely just to gather intelligence and figure out what exactly your opponent has set up with.
Well, it's a 6-minute game. That means they have 6 minutes to figure, well, 5 minutes really to figure it out, 1 minute to attack if that's what they want to do. But at the moment, they spent the first 2 minutes just to try to feel out where that defense is. They know what beginners like to do. They don't know what they're actually doing.
Behind tank!
You can hear the comms coming out right now. The communication's so important in this game.
That's Raphael getting an early spot. It was Smoils from the beginners that tried to get aggressive, tried to push out onto the main southern street in order to get him a little bit more of an angle to work with against his incoming opponents, but unfortunately was caught up by a player with a shield, and I really had no choice but to run back inside and take up a new position. But we had our first kill. Toast managing to knock out Smoils. Doesn't take him out all the way just yet, though, and a trade is found in the other direction. Globochem now down to 4 players because of that, and in fact, unfortunately, looks like we might have actually lost one in the process, so they're going to be down to 3 now because that beginners have lost 1 too, but they can still get that revive back up.
Yep, absolutely. And what we're seeing here, one of the strengths of that shield, although it's a very defensive weapon, what it meant was that he's hidden behind it. Smoils didn't even try and take it down, and that's why the shield is so important. Not just as a blocking device, but as an intel device. You can hide behind, call out that intel, and feel relatively safe as long as you don't get over aggressive with it.
So for the beginners, they have themselves a good solid defense to start off this round. The loss of one of their players, of course, is a bit unfortunate, and he's in an irretrievable position, so we will not see him get back up more than likely unless someone is able to work their way out of this building. But with us a little over halfway into the round now, and the entire building where the uplink is positioned at completely surrounded, that player, I'd say there's a very minimal chance we see him again.
I can guarantee they won't go for that res, but the important thing is that Smoils is down. Now in this game, if you're down and not out, you can still pass on intel. You can still radio into your teammates, and where he is so important. Any flank that comes, he can call it out for his teammates. They can poke up and take down that flank. The fact that he isn't radioing in comms and telling them where the attack is coming from means they know the attack is coming from the south or the west.
He's baiting.
So they've entered the house. Yes, I think from Globochem being the first one to do that. They've entered on to the inside here now.
Oh, they're stacking up for the push now. Stacking up for the push. This is so important. 4 players, though, still up there. It's going to be a real hard attack. And actually, Globochem still do have 4 players up.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of a UI bug, so they actually do have all 4 players. No disconnected feed, but the pressure's now starting to get to them. Cushberry's the first to take a little bit of a duel at the top of the staircase, trying to see if they can pick anyone off, as they have now swarmed the entire downstairs area. Now this is where the question comes, does Globochem have grenades? Do they have a way to try to flush them out of that top floor?
Here it comes, the push is starting.
And as they push themselves up, it's Kushberries that's able to hold himself in a good position to start. Knocks out another one as well, as we see Otto going down right there too. Globochem losing a lot of players very quickly here. This is getting dangerous for themselves. You can notice Kushberries has a great radar too, as he's got that tablet down to the ground. Bit of a misfire on the grenade there, but Raphael's got a shield, so he is able to avoid the damage from it. Now he's going to try to creep the steps, but again, you can see Kushberries holding the line. I think he's got a grenade. He's got a little present from them, but no! He's going to get knocked out by Pants. The grenade didn't get anyone.
Didn't catch anyone,
Unfortunately not, so it's an even nearly trade now. As we're brought into what I believe is a 3v3 at this point.
Oh, 2 vs 3. The beginners just lost a player, and now the Globochem lost the duo brothers, which leaves them with Raphael and
still has himself a good position on top of the stairway here too. One of the last bastions of defense on top by the uplink. Now remember, although the players on the offending team Globochem right now are very close to that uplink, they need to be at the correct elevation as well. So they're not able to send the code from downstairs despite being right next to it. They do have to get at least about 3/4 of the way to the top of the steps before they're going to be able to do it.
30 seconds, they're being pushed now. They have to push this objective. Raphael and Hans coming in now for the attack. They're both taken down.
Come on, what the fuck?
And beginners take round 1, map 1.
And that's going to be a good start, of course, for the beginners. They'll push themselves ahead, and 1 out of 4 points that is needed to claim the map is now theirs. And now we enter the mid-round scenario. You guys were seeing it before as we were looking at one of the players' screens. Right now, they've gone back to the tent, and they have a drawing board, and the team captains will be trying to distribute strategies. We discussed this during the analysis desk segment as well, that communication is not always available to these players when they're in the actual round themselves. So we give the teams 2 minutes between each round in order to come up with their strategy for the next round.
Yeah, and it's really crucial. I mean, that's where the adaptability of both teams really plays a part. The fact that they can change the tactics on the fly, really adapt to the situations, analyze the enemy attacks, analyze the enemy defenses, and come up with new plays, it just changes everything.
We are going to be seeing as well. The sides will now flip. The defenders from the previous round will be the offenders on this round, and of course, vice versa will be true for the opposite team. It will be the same uplink position, however, so it's still going to be in the top of that house, but after this upcoming round, the uplink will move to a random position on the map.
So just to remind the viewers or anyone who hasn't seen this before, we saw the pressure building on Globochem in that last end of that map. With 30 seconds left on the clock, had the time run out, the enemy team beginners on defense would have got 1 point by default. So Globochem had no choice but to attack, which meant as the time ran out, as the beginners see that the time is running out, they're ready for that push. They know it's coming. The triggers are on the fingers, ready to pull. And Globochem had no choice.
So now we are just waiting for those final players to get themselves readied up for the upcoming round. You can see as well, I think we talked about this at the beginning of the analysis segment, that a lot of players have those stocks in their hands that basically helps them to stabilize their weapons. If they have weapons that rely on them spraying a lot, or if they have a long-range weapon, it's a little bit harder to kind of stabilize your weapon if you just have the 2 controllers in the air, because you don't actually have something to make it a physical object. So there's a slight little jiggle of your hand or something like that may throw off your shot. Those stocks help to kind of stabilize things a little bit better and line up their shots, especially if they're playing a designated marksman role. But here we go into the second round now with beginners having a 1-0 lead.
Yep, and we're going to see Globochem now pushing towards that center defense. They're not going to take the same kind of positions that beginners did, but they will definitely put at least 2 players up on that objective. I expect them more to spread out, try and intercept that push to the center building rather than engage it on the actual objective.
See here, beginners trying to see if they can pick off anyone else earlier on. If any opportunities might present themselves, it's not looking like it's the case, but as you mentioned, Globochem not immediately throwing everyone else inside of the mansion where the uplink is positioned. They are still going to keep some players out free among the map to try and look for options themselves, be a little bit more aggressive, it might seem.
Worth noting that those bushes you can actually just about see through, and a lot of the wood on this map you can actually fire through. So what we saw and what we heard was a lot of suppression fire coming out, trying to catch popular lanes of movement. Even though you had no visibility of it, they were just firing, blind firing, hoping to get a pickup.
Regardless, beginners have gone for almost a line sweep formation here now, as they're going to be keeping all 4 players pretty much the same length of the map, but slowly moving everyone together down to the south as one cohesive unit so that they can do the same thing, basically swarm the house and look to eventually move in on it once they're close enough and try to go for the uplink.
Yeah, beginners in, moving in by the numbers, trying to get the pick off, trying to get the intel, not overextending and getting picked off themselves, but the same can be said for Globochem. They're not getting antsy in the defense, they're holding the lines, waiting for that push, waiting for Marsok to push into the lines of defense, waiting to take them down. So really important to note, for anyone who's not seen this before, the proximity to sound is so important in this game. You're listening for the footsteps, moving slowly so you move silently. Just hearing those footsteps means you know where the enemy is, you can radio where they are, and also anticipate them as they come around so you can pre-fire them.
It's not even just footsteps as well, especially as you get into the late round when you're more danger close to some of your enemies. It turns into even listening for pulls of grenade pins. I think they talked about at the desk about how the tablet as well makes a specific sound. Actually, we discussed that in the previous series about how the tablet makes a very specific sound when it's pulled out.
Yep.
So players, especially in the late round, have to be very cautious with pretty much every action, as that can give away a lot of intel to their opponents.
One interesting strategy that we haven't really discussed before is that frag grenades have one other aspect to them other than just doing damage. They deafen the players around them. So if a frag grenade goes in, you can't hear the footsteps or the voice comms of players around you. So that's also another one of these tactics we see. And also, I see Woods now taking down Toast. One defender down.
I'd seen him take this corner angle a second ago, and I knew he had a slight shot. I don't know if that player from Globochem had backed away or not. It seems that wasn't the case. So beginners will once again start the round off with an advantage by netting themselves the first kill to put this down into a 5 versus 4.
But check this out. Woods now pushing up in front, slowly in front. Will he peek that corner? I don't think he is. I think he's going to get taken down from behind in 3. No, I'm wrong. He takes down Pants. A big upset. Globochem now down to 3 defenders.
So Woods is able to grab that kill. That's a common spot, unfortunately, that we've seen a lot of defenders take on this map. So it's not too uncommon for us to see a player like Woods kind of pre-fire into that spot and able to knock out that defender successfully.
But what's interesting to see is that we talk about Pika's advantage, and usually Pika's advantage comes down to speed as you round a corner. He was moving ultra slow, ultra slow. So what it was, that absolutely was down to reactions between 2 players. And Woods came out on top.
The beginners are so far doing great work with continuing to hold on to their lead. Already having themselves the first round and now a 2-kill advantage going into the second round. Just have to knock out a few of the remaining stragglers here on the enemy team, and they'll let themselves a second round. And hey, with the numbers they have them at right now, there may even be an opportunity for an uplink, but unfortunately with all 3 of the remaining defenders stacked in the house, the uplink is going to look a little unlikely, at least for me at this point.
Absolutely, I don't see an uplink happening, but I mean, beginners in a great position here now. It just got a little less great though. 1 defender down. Oh, sorry, 1 attacker down now. 2 attackers down. Thunder Pilot picking up, killing her as well.
We are going to see Thunder Pilot, I believe, backing up to the second floor of the mansion after picking up that kill. They don't want to take any more additional risks. They're okay with just having Auto down on the first floor. And it's a good thing they didn't have Thunder Pilot down there, as he might have been dead himself right now. Smoils finishing off Auto there with the second kill tag that you just saw on the screen. Woods, though, it looks like a team kill might have just been brought out as well, as Smoils ends up being brought down by him.
That's really unfortunate. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. The thing is, when you can't afford... Oh, it's a Duff Grenade. He makes it out. So Globochem famous for their excellent grenade techniques. Beginners maybe not so much.
As we do see beginners with a little bit of a mistaken thrown right there. It ends up just plopping itself right onto the ground instead of actually going up the staircase, which I would imagine would have been the intended target. So now we're locked into this 2v2 between the teams. Globochem holding both of their players in the same spot we saw beginners hold on to in the last round, just on the second floor of the mansion, right besides the uplink for the other 2. They're starting to back up a little bit here. They're going to try and see if they can maybe pick someone off from a distance.
We can see Icy Woods has gone to the absolute south. He's trying to get a pick off through those windows. He's trying to get a vision on either of the defenders. He knows they're up there. They both know to keep their heads down, though. But if they make any kind of mistake, Woods will pick up on it and punish them for it.
We should mention again, as we talked about it on the desk, there is a reason why both these players are named Woods. They're brothers, believe it or not, as well. And they're here trying to win that prize together. So we're going to have to see if they can pull off the clutch. Win this 2v2 and keep their team in the lead.
45 seconds left on the clock. They're being forced into an attack situation. Globochem know it. They're going to be ready for it.
Here we go. Woods making a move first. The uplink getting in the way, but not in the way enough. And as well, his brother takes out the second one from a distance and across the street. Yeah, it's beginners that pick up a second round now.
Fantastic. What we saw there, Icy Woods locked in on his windows. Raphael, here's his teammate, goes down. Knows a cap could be happening. Has to stand up. Has to run to the objective. Woods cuts him down. That's excellent team play.
So the beginners will be able to once again push themselves forward even further now. A 2-0 lead established for them. And as well, been unorthodox to see, especially on that point, complete dominance from them, winning both the offensive and the defensive round.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 players up both times. This was not a 1-on-1 situation. So what we're seeing right now is beginners looking very confident, coming from that match against Boss Fight, showing what they're capable of against the current champions.
So now, as we talked about previously, the uplink position is going to change. It'll move to a different spot. They are predetermined positions, but where exactly it will go is random. So we're going to find that out when we do jump back into it. And of course, we'll get your analysis on how exactly that might be working out.
Now, as we look up here, I love the display they set up on this grand stage. It's amazing. You can actually see each one of the players' bios, what their equipment they're using, how many grenades, how many smoke grenades, what the primary, what the holstering. Also, you can see if they're down, if they're dead, and how many kills they have. There's so much information here for the viewers, and it's just unparalleled. It's fantastic.
Very cool stage that we have here set up at OC5. Of course, I'm sure some of you guys saw it earlier, and now we got to transform it into an esports stage for our grand finals here. And of course, you see the results before you.
Yep. So Globochem now feeling the pressure. The guys who know pressure, they're facing it all the time. They won the first Leicester Invitational, so they are not new to this stage. I mean, this stage specifically, yes. The pressure is building, and like I said in the first game, I thought Globochem looked like they were a little bit nervous. Beginners look cool as cucumbers, and that's coming through right now. We saw team kills. We saw A little bit of nervous play. Thunder Pilot caught flat-footed. There's only one way into that objective upstairs, and Thunder Pilot wasn't looking at the stairs as the entry from Woods 43 came. I don't know what's going through their heads right now.
Yeah, it seemed like we were trying to see, especially at the end there too, just trying to hug the uplink and use that as at least something to get in the way of the spray that was coming from our opponent that was pushing up the top, but it didn't end up working out that way. I can see though that it looks like we are ready to jump back in. Players are going to be let out of spawn in, well, just about a second here. And we now have our new uplink position. How exactly do we often see this one playing out?
Oh, it's a really hard one to defend. It's the defender's nightmare. Basically, it's very hard to place any players to surround it where they're safe, but gives them good sight lines. You have to have a player on the objective, which is a horrible place to be. People know we're going to be there. We saw Toast getting taken down by Icy Woods in exactly that position. Beginners spreading out the defense, a very aggressive defense, and I love to see this. This is an unusual defense, and this is what we love to see from Beginners. They're always coming up with adaptive plays, trying to surprise their enemies.
We've got Globochem, already one of their players. Kept starting off on the offense for this uplink point. And so finding himself a nice pickup against Kushberries, and if he pays attention, might have another opportunity too, but it looks like he's gonna back away from his current spot, so he'll miss that chance to knock out Woods. Although Woods himself might be deciding to push forward a little bit to look for a tad of revenge, but no, it's gonna be Dr. Killinger instead that gets it, knocking out Thunder Pilot on a different point of the map.
Yeah, but I think Thunder Pilot might still be resable. He gets Raphael gets the rev, and then takes down Dr. Killinger. That puts Beginners on 3 defenders. 1 resible, Killinger still alive. Raphael rocking the shield though, accepting the firepower, calling out the intel. Smiles taken down.
So with that, we're gonna see more kills bringing themselves out here. It's not looking too great for the Beginners right now, as they're just constantly losing players. They don't have any sort of grouping going for themselves right now. Woods, as we see right there, I see Woods finding a few trades, but he too is gonna go down, and just like that, Globochem completely dominate the round. Beginners, sadly, just a little bit too split up, in my opinion, there, and we do see them just getting picked off one by one until there's none left at the end of the round.
But again, we saw fantastic use of that shield. That shield was not there to cause a kill. He was there drawing attention to himself, making him accept the bullets. Look at me, shoot at me, shoot at me. I have a shield, I can take it. The guy behind me, though, he's going to refrag you. You need to be focusing on him, not me.
And of course, this isn't like a normal game as well, where turning around to try and kill a second opponent is just the nature of whipping your mouse across the mouse pad. You do have to do the physical stand up and actually whip all the way around, so we can see those situations being a lot rare. We have seen them, I will say. I think at the last Invitational, we had a couple rounds where I saw a player move into a room and was able to really quickly get a 1-2 punch on 2 players that were holding separate angles, but it is very, very hard to accomplish, as it all needs to be done physically, unlike, like we said,
and
see
it's
with
the
normal
reactions
games.
involved there. It's your left hand, right hand. You need to, I know it sounds silly, but you know that coordination and physicality of like twisting your body around, spinning around almost to get those shots. And what we saw Woods 43 against Boss Fight, you know, when Mr. Death took down 2 of his teammates, physically in real life he dropped to 1 knee and span around on the spot in 1 motion. I mean, that's a practiced move. I know it sounds silly, but it's muscle memory. You know, that's not just quick reactions. That's quick reactions with practice.
Much like with really anything in the world, people are always going to find the best strategies for accomplishing their goals, and that's exactly one of them right there. We see players coming up with cool physical tricks they can use to quickly spin around and try to pick up multiple frags.
Yep. And what we saw in that last map was really interesting from Beginners. We saw a very aggressive defense from them, and it didn't really pay off. And the key point there was that, as I said, you can see through those bushes. Not perfectly, but just about. And there was a moment where 2 players looked at each other and weren't sure that they could see each other. One pulled the trigger, the other one didn't. And I really feel that Beginners defense on the back foot, losing the most forward defending player.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, it was really very much a story as well, as once they started to lose players, it never really stopped. So I don't think there was ever a moment for them to kind of call for a retreat and pull their players back. Now we're going to switch, of course. Now we're going to see the Beginners on offense, and they'll get their same turn on the same uplink, and it's Globochem going to be on defense.
Again, these early shots coming out through penetrable cover to try and get those pickups. Even if they can't see the enemy players, they're just hoping to land a lucky bullet. It doesn't happen this time. We can see Beginners pushing up in a very different manner to what we saw Globochem, and Globochem's defense, again, very different to what we saw from Beginners. Beginners. 2 very, very different styles.
Beginners obviously a lot slower and pretty, for the most part, at least on the opening couple of seconds here, avoiding the middle of the map. They're changing that now as their western group is starting to move in towards the center of the map to maybe look at the mansion as an option, but that's not going to work out too well, as Pants inside of the mansion is able to find a pick and knocks out Woods at range.
Globochem coming alive now. That last round, very, very satisfying for them. And now we can see the building carrying this momentum forward in this defense.
Globochem, as you were talking about, a much different defense from them too. They're pretty much taking the exact opposite stance. They won't push past the mansion, let alone really take any aggressive positioning at all. They're holding 3 strong inside of the house and 1 in the garage by the uplink itself.
Again, unusual defensive layout, but it's going to pay off, I think. That's definitely not what beginners will be expecting. Apart from that one guy you have to have on the objective, as I mentioned earlier. It's a horrible place to hold, but you literally have no choice. You have to be on the objective, and that's the only feasible place to be.
You have them starting to slowly swarm around. It looks like they are going to take towards the extremities of the map and use that as their main way to get in, but there's a nade coming from way downfield. You can see that line. That's the path of the nade. Unfortunately, though, it's not a full kill. It only brings him into a down state. So Kushberries is nearby, and he's able to move in, use his syringe to get the revive out.
I mean, that was a pinpoint grenade from Globochem there, and as the analyst desk was saying earlier, that's something they practice, and practice makes perfect. Absolutely. Smoke's coming out from Smiles now. I think it's more of a distraction technique rather than to actually push there. They're trying to draw their attention to the south of the map while they secretly move through the center.
Got Smiles starting to make his push around the side of the western house. A little bit hesitant to actually go forward with the push all the way up to the street, though. They still don't have the greatest idea of the positioning just yet. We're going to take a look, I think, at a quick replay of that grenade, however, and try to see it once again. So here we go. There's the toss.
Great arc.
Right on target. Perfect. Yeah. So now we do have Smoil still on that push. And again, that's the western extremity of the map right now. Another player from beginners is starting to get very, very close to the mansion itself and may find himself in a battle relatively soon because of that. Dr. Killinger, meanwhile, on the eastern end of the map, he's also getting into a little bit of a scrap.
Those reactions, though, he sees the enemy player, ducks down, the bullet's missing, he returns fire, then calls it into the teammates where that location is.
You can see Kushberries right up against the house where a large majority of Globochem are positioned. He's being quiet. He's not being too active about this current position because he mainly doesn't want to give away the fact that he's here. There's a good chance that Globochem haven't realized he's held this side room just as of yet.
But what we just missed there from the camera, I just saw it in the back of the angle, was there was a refrag grenade came directly to where Killinger's position was. That's the expertise we see coming from Globochem. They knew where Killinger was. The grenade went to exactly where he was firing from. Fortunately for Killinger, he'd repositioned. It didn't catch him, but great plays from both teams right now.
Smoils has gotten the all clear, so he's moved in and pretty much has joined Kushberries now to try and move in on the mansion position. They have another player a little bit further to the north too, and that's Dr. Killinger that might be able to jump on this as well.
Now Kushberries is snuck in here. Again, that proximity, the noise, the importance of it, they don't know he's there. He's got in close. We've seen Smoils making noise, pumping out fire, just trying to create distractions to allow the players like Kushberries to push up on the objective, to push up on this middle mansion, try and clear it out.
And the problem that is going to start to surface here within the next minute or so is going to be the time factor of this too. As once again, because beginners have not gone so aggressively into this round, they still have to try and kind of sweep and clear the rest of the map. It's Toast, though, that's going to be jumping in for Globochem. A short-lived one, however. He's only able to pick up 1 kill before being traded out by Woods. He'll go down after that. Woods will find the trade successfully and will be locked into what I believe is now a 3v3.
Yep, it's getting intense now with 1 minute 50 left on the clock. But this is where beginners thrive. They love having 1 minute left on the clock. This is where the game. The moment it hits 1 minute, it's beginner's o'clock.
Raphael nearly able to sneak off another kill against Smoils here too, but thankfully the sandbags support him enough to be able to get back.
He's by the pool, lane 2, corner.
And again, you can hear the calls coming out. That's coming from Raphael himself, the player we're currently spectating. He's seen the players outside, knows where they are, and he knows he's going to be pressured by them relatively soon too. But oh, a team kill again from the beginners as Woods. I see Woods will accidentally knock out Smoils.
Wow, that's a big hit. Beginners were showing some great play, but Kushberries then takes down Thunder Pilot. It's a 2-on-2 situation.
He's traded it back, and we could very well see another duel happening here soon too. Kushberries and Pants, who's been flanking around on the defense to try and line something up, but he's got to be careful so he can hear the shots, and he knows IC Woods is going to be pushing towards him. He'll quickly take him out, and now Kushberries, the pressure switches to him as he picks up Pants. And as you mentioned, we're now down to a 1-on-1 with only 1 minute left in the round.
While the objective is wide open, Raphael realizes that he's going to be having to rotate down. Maybe he doesn't realize it. Kushberry's not pressing the advantage. He knows Raphael is up there. Again, that noise is so important. He heard the footsteps up there. He's waiting by the stairs, waiting for that player to come down. And he's thinking that Raphael is going to be forced to do so.
Front house.
Remember, there's another call coming out right there, too, as we're going to be hearing that from Raphael. Raphael doesn't know, however, that he's going to be one of the last men standing. And with the kill coming out from Kushberries, has taken him down.
Oh, there's still... Oh.
I'm down. Be careful.
Okay, so there's still another Globochem player up. It's not a 1 versus 1 situation. It's a 1 versus 2 situation.
So he's going to make a move
over. Auto on the objective, though.
Oh, it's Auto. We haven't even seen him. He's right over here. He's been holding the objective the entire time. Auto! He'll peek out for Globochem and finish off the round. Picks up the final kill. Throws his gun away as well just to celebrate. And that'll tie us up, folks, at 2-2.
Cushbury's making some amazing plays there, though. I mean, it's unfortunate Auto took him down, but Cushbury's really, really psyching out Raphael, holding that corner, knowing Raphael will be forced to come down the stairs or at least check the stairs, and it paid off for him. Auto, though, on the objective, not leaving it open.
We should mention now that both players have hit the 2-point mark. Either team can now win on the upcoming round because of the fact that the uplink provides you with an additional point. Winning normally, again, gives you 1 point. Via the uplink will give you 2, and it's 4 to win. So either one of these teams may now be able to take the match, but it's only the offending team that can net 2 points in a single round.
I know, that's a great point. That's a great point. And so important. Beginners, though, are not going to be giving out an objective on this map. Not easily. Unless they drop the ball massively, this is a team that knows how to hold the line, they know how to hold objectives. They're not going to be giving up the Globochem, and they know Globochem are really hungry for it.
And the other big question, too, is where did our uplink now go? Where did it switch to? I think I saw it for a minute. It looked like it was in the middle street on the west side of the map, but we'll get that confirmed once we actually get into the server itself, as that is going to become a large factor in what determines our winner more than likely as well for this upcoming map, is that could give a big advantage to our defender or our attacker, depending on where that uplink position is at.
Hey, do you want to make some bets that the Raphael is going to rock a shield again?
I feel like you know this, so I don't want to take the bet.
Come on, take the bet.
Okay, I'll take the bet.
Do you think he's taking it or not?
I think he's taking it.
I think you're right.
So we'll see on that one, of course, when we get into the match itself. And that round is going to be starting in just another minute here. As you saw in the background there, they're in the tent. They're drawing on the board, coming up with their strategies for the upcoming round now. Because when they're in the game, there may not always be open lines of communication. They may be too close to an enemy, and talking would give away their position. Or at the same time, they might just be dead and might not be able to talk to their teammates because of that.
So we saw when they were drawing, a northwest objective, which I thought you called out earlier, but that it's a great objective to see defended. There's so many different lines of attack, so many different lines of defense. Here we go. Round 5, map 1, Globochem versus Beginners.
So in we're going to go. Players are going to be let out of the boxes now. They'll start to push themselves forward. Beginners start off with a sweeping push down to the south here, and they are going to extend a little bit beyond the uplink itself. In fact, 3 players are going really aggressive here for the Beginners. We could see some early action because of
that grenade,
it's another double kill nade. This time coming in from Woods, and it brings them both down. Pants does find a trade, however, for the Globochem side. Not going to play from Beginner.
The grenades didn't finish him off, though. They went too far. You're right.
What?
It's a team kill.
Okay, it's all good. Now let's just hope they have enough syringes to get everybody up, but I think that's the case. That could have ended up with 4 players down from Globochem. Could have been a mess, but they are able to avert disaster, and thankfully they have the syringes still, so they are going to be able to get everyone back up. Remember, the grenades, they'll do enough damage to send a player into a down state, but unless they've taken damage previously in the round, it's almost never going to be enough to fully kill them.
Wow, what a grenade. The first grenade on point. The 2 follow-up grenades, though, not quite finding the mark. That could have been a game ender right there.
Oh, Dr. Killinger, though, getting right up in the face of Raphael with that shield. He won't get very far with it as he's been brought down as well.
Your shield is nothing to me, sir. On this angle, I see you from the side.
Thunder Pilot, in the meantime, going to be creeping up near one of the sandbags, but Killinger seems aware of him, spamming in. He's able to take out Pants, but Thunder Pilot is there for the trade to bring it back and lock us into a 2v2.
Wow, well, again, it's so intense. This objective, I would not expect to see this much action this soon. Beginners' defense line so aggressive compared to what they usually do.
Meanwhile, Smoils will be the one holding back by the actual objective itself. Down to only one other teammate holding further to his east in one of the bigger buildings, pretty much the direct northern point on the map. You may have noticed there as well for Smoils, he actually had his tablet down on the ground for a little bit before he moved, and that's something that specifically the defenders have a little bit of an advantage in being able to do because you don't have an in-game radar on your HUD. The only time you can look at the radar is when you bring that tablet out, and the defenders, because sometimes they play into static positions, well, they can take that tablet out, put it in a corner, and just watch it at the corner of their eye.
Yeah, and as a Moscow player, if you want to check who's left, you have to pull that tablet out on the move. Auto being taken down now. It's a 2-on-1 situation for Beginners. Or maybe not. 2-on-2 situation.
Are still going to be looking at the 2 remaining Globochem players trying to push up the mid lane here to get access to the northern streets. Smoils bringing in a whole lot of covering fire, and that will keep them back and force at least one player from Globochem, specifically Thunderpite, to go around the corner and try to find Smoils here now.
I take it back. I said Beginners weren't very generous, but Smoils sharing all the bullets he can.
Meanwhile, I see Woods has picked up another kill in the process, so it's down to just 1 for Globochem here. It's down to Thunderpilot. He's thrown a bit of a fake. He's chucked in some smokes into the road to make it look like he's trying to make a push here, but that is not the case.
Oh, fantastic play. Oh, unfortunately, also Woods holds the line, takes down Thunder Pilot as Thunder Pilot comes in on the flank.
And with that, that's going to be the beginners pushing ahead once again. No double points being found on the uplink, but they do win out the round, meaning they are now at map point 3-2. One more, and they will take the opening map and be only one more win away from claiming the title and the $25,000 that goes along with it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, beginners, they did a very good job against Boss Fight, and it's good to see beginners doing a good job against GloboChem. It means Boss Fight wasn't so bad. It was just beginners being amazing right now.
Absolutely, and again, this is a bit of an upset territory here, as we do see it as GloboChem do have themselves the #1 title in the world right now, at least as far as the leaderboards are concerned.
Absolutely, and deserved, as we said. They practice so much together. But beginners, again, let's not count them out. This is another team that practice all the time together, and they hide their plays. They don't broadcast it. They keep it for special events like this.
It seems like that strategy so far, at least, has been working out very well for them. But there's more maps still to be played, and something that I personally appreciate about Onward is just the variety and style of maps that we end up seeing across these series. And this series itself is going to be no exception. We started off on Suburbia here, rather, I would say it's more of a mid-sized map in my opinion. But after this, we're going to be branching out quite a bit more to some of the big dogs in terms of map size.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I would disagree. I think Suburbia is one of the smaller maps. I think Cargo and Suburbia are classed as the small range maps, just because it's the kind of map where you can throw any map where you can throw the grenade from one end to the map to the other. Yeah, definitely a small map, and especially if you've got someone like Mr. Beefy and that cannon arm. Yeah, definitely a small map. But like you said, Downfall, one of the picks, I believe, the third map pick if it goes to that. Long-range map, we saw Boss Fight and beginners play on it. It changes everything. Changes who's playing, changes tactics that are used, changes the weapons you take.
Changes even the attachments on those weapons in some cases as well, I would believe, as I think the longer range scopes are going to prove to be a bit more viable. Next round should be coming up here in just a second, and this could be the decisive one for our opening map, if the beginners are able to take it, as they'll be on offense for this upcoming round.
Yep. So for anyone not seen this game before, uplink, 2 points for Marsok, the blue team. As you said before, beginners, they don't need to take this uplink. They can just, if they get 1 point, they win the map. But if they get 2 points, they get bragging rights. 5-2 to them on the first map. That would put GloboChem on the back foot, both psychologically and score-wise.
An overachieving victory, you might be able to call it at that point as well. But we'll see if they're able to pull that off now, as the uplink does still have that same northwest street position. And it's going to be the beginners now pushing in primarily from the southeast along the bus street to try and get themselves up to the north.
Now, what we've seen is a lot of anticipatory grenades going out to popular positions. As we saw last round, we almost saw 2 players going down straight away with a first perfect grenade. Right now, no one throwing any grenades. Everyone's kind of taking the time, letting players get into those positions I'm talking about. They don't want to like spam the grenades too early before players are actually there. And what we can see also from GloboChem right now is their defense makeup is completely different to beginners. Whereas we saw beginners doing a much more aggressive defense, we can see GloboChem holding the street, not pushing past that lane. And look at beginners' attack path right now. This, again, a very unusual play. All 5 players on the east side, lined up, looking for a counter flank, not overplaying the positions. Here, that suppression fire, even suppressing me right now.
Look at all the smokes that are coming out here as well. I think we just saw like 3 or 4 smokes thrown in a row here for beginners. So that's pretty much their entire arsenal of smoke grenades gone within these first couple of seconds here.
And here comes the flank, and it's being successful so far. None of the plays being taken down. Raffaello trades. Both players still alive. The intel is still there. Kushbury's picking up and getting Woods up in now.
So unfortunately, Raphael's impact is going to be quite minimal there. I think he's only able to end up with a 1-for-1 trade. Thunder Pilot has adjusted the meanwhile. He's gone to the other side of those smokes, which should be fading relatively soon here. And that will expose both Woods 43 and Kushberries to potentially Thunder Pilot, who's waiting on the other side. And there we go. Picks up one, but a great trade from Kushberries.
Wow, what a refrag. He was ready for it. Kush hears the shot, stood up, takes the shot. He's back down. Double tapping.
Just to be safe. You never know.
You never know. So that puts 2 defenders down, 2 attackers down, a 3 versus 3 situation. But key now, Kushbury's in a really great position to put GloboChem on a back foot, and it really forces them to cover that street. They have to cover their back. They cannot now focus on the south or the southwest, which gives beginners the ability to do some very successful flanks.
And remember, at the same time, he still has his 2 other teammates down to the south on the road. They don't want to move up and group with him just yet because the smokes are no longer there.
And can we see Kushbury's now just looking, like harvesting any of the down equipment from his teammates? Really important. You can add grenades, add ammo, and it can change everything.
Change his gun there a little bit too, I think, or at least just wanted to throw that other one away. But he'll be working with this new arsenal. I think we'll just start that bit of a sweep to the west now.
Beginners now taking the time, that initial push so violent, but now they're taking the time, reassessing the situation, communicating, and making sure they don't overstay their welcome.
In the meantime, Globochem, the two that they have left, they're relatively split up as well, so they're going to have to be careful with the battles that they choose. One holding pretty much directly to the north of the uplink in a safe position, just sitting back, defending that, preventing the double cap. And in the meanwhile, the only other one that's left is stuck dead center in the middle of the map. A lot of options present for that player, but whether it's going to be successful or not is a huge gamble.
Well, I think actually there might be 3 defenders still up. I think we've still got a UI bug at the moment, hiding that 3rd defender. Yes, definitely 3 defenders still up for Globochem.
Gotcha. That's right. There is one south of the uplink as well. So it's Toast, I believe. Or no, Toast and Pants are the ones that are holding on top of the uplink, in fact. And there'll be your 2 players still positioned on the inside. Beginners starting to look to wrap around, maybe go through the backyards in the north here. If that
On
gives
the
them an
west, we're
option.
going to see an engagement anytime now. That line is cooked. Any point that the beginner player tries to push past, he's going to get taken down. Will he pre-fire? Killing it now, slowly pushing into autos with line of sight.
Pants wanted to see if he'll maybe get to pick something up here too. And although you can see through the bushes, I don't know if it's going to be enough to reveal this player at that distance. As you mentioned, it's going to be Toast here that'll more than likely find himself.
Meanwhile, Smalls has also made the transition, meaning the beginners now have 2 players in the north of the map, and that's big. That really puts Globochem in a bad situation.
Well, the good news for beginners is that they left themselves plenty of time to explore this northern portion of the map after they made that smoke play, as that all happened back when there was still about 3 to 4 minutes left on the clock. They're getting a little bit lower now, however, so this is when the pressure sets in, when we may start to see a bit more aggressive mistakes from the beginners, as they are going to be forced out of their current positions and, well, forced to make a play for that uplink. As soon the time will start to get too low for them to be able to realistically take it. And if that timer hits 0, Globochem win the round by default.
But we're seeing the level of play here now. Killingham not taking for granted that attack line. He could have pushed it so early. He could have pushed it so long ago. Auto would have taken him down, but he still hasn't gone past that line. Is he expecting someone to be there? You check all your corners. All the best players do.
Well, looks like Killinger's not going to be left with much of a choice here, as he is starting to just move himself forward here now. And does Pants have the angle for it, or is he going to be safely hidden behind a wall?
Killinger's going to reveal himself any second now.
And there we go. It looks like he's got a safe angle, so we'll go right
But he
by
hasn't seen him. Pants hasn't seen him.
Oh my goodness.
And Killinger makes him pay for it.
So he was actually in the correct lane as well. I'm amazed that we didn't see Pants catching that. Dr. Killinger literally slinks right up, takes him down. Smoils with another kill as well. Leaves only one still standing, and it doesn't matter. It's going to be the beginners wiping the floor with Globochem in that final round. A great smoke play to start things off as they took early northeastern control, and the rest of the team slowly moves throughout the middle of the map to finish off any of the stragglers. They take map number 1, and now they're only one more map away from being our champions.
Wow, great plays from both teams. And I mean, I said it before, beginners cool as cucumbers, and I think Globochem is showing a bit of nerves. I saw some risky plays. I mean, we saw Pants miss, Killinger slowly coming into his line of sight, didn't take him down, and it really should have been his kill for the taking.
So with that said, that's going to be our next map coming up soon, folks. It'll be Quarantine will be the map we'll be jumping onto. So how do you see things changing up in our second map?
I mean, Quarantine, Globochem are famous for devastating this map. Globochem, the ones to take this, definitely the ones to take this.
We're going to have to see how that will shape up. Our players are going to be taking a break, ladies and gentlemen, so please do be sure to stick with us, but we're going to be coming back with the second map and potentially the third map in a little bit here as well. But that first map, what a show, especially the beginning, going back and forth with those first 4 rounds. Both teams having really uplinks that they were able to excel at, I would say, at the beginning of the map.
We saw exemplary play from both teams, both in grenades, both in tactics, both in communication, and everything involved there was great level playing field. Even though beginners took it, it was not one-sided. And I think that's what we're going to see from the next map. I know I said Globochem are going to destroy it, but you know what? Beginners could pull it out. Beginners, maybe not as strong as Globochem casually on this map, but I don't know.
Especially with Globochem maybe showing some signs of struggling here, as we've talked about before. They're not necessarily showing the best confidence in some of their plays, whereas their opponents seem very cool, calm, and collected in pretty much all situations so far.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to take a second now. They're going to redouble their efforts. They're going to change up their players, and it could make a difference. Arsenic coming forward, he's a long-range shot.
All right, we're going to have to see how Arsenic can maybe change things up. But for now, we are going to send it over to Sean Charles with an interview.
Absolutely, guys. What a fantastic first map. I'm joined here by Will. Will, tell us a little bit, because you've actually been at one of the LANs in Leicester playing Onward.
That's right, I was. It was an amazing experience, and I'm just really excited for the future of Onward and VR competitive sports, because this is absolutely amazing. This is definitely that next big step, and we're just really excited. And congratulations to beginners on taking that first win. That was a great map, guys. Congratulations.
Now you stood up and cheered. Does that mean that you have a little bit of favoritism there? Are you rooting for beginners here?
I would like to see the underdog win, and no offense, beginners. Globochem, hats off to them. They've been dominant in the league for three seasons now. So we're really looking forward to see the changing of the guard, so to speak.
Well, we love having you here. Now, obviously, you were in Leicester playing there, but now you're actually here. You're also with a lot of the guys here from Stack Up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's right. Stack Up, it's an amazing organization. They work with veterans and bring them to events like this. I'm a recipient of their Air Assault program, brought me out here. I'm a veteran myself. And the work that they do, it's amazing, and thank you. And if you guys want to see more information, please visit stackup.org. You can read up on what they do, and if you are so inclined, you can also make a donation to the website. And thank you again for this opportunity, guys. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this, being able to be here with my fellow league players that I've been working and playing with shoulder to shoulder virtually for years now.
Well, we absolutely love Stack Up, and we love what the organization is doing. Guys, big round of applause for everybody here from Stack Up. Will, I've got to ask you, make a cheeky prediction. Are they going to do the 2 sweep, or you think we're going to go the distance for the 3?
If I know Globochem, it's going to go the distance, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, we're going the distance, but the guys who are definitely going to give that opinion are the analysts. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Sean. And of course, you can head over to esl.gg/StackUpOC5, and they'll be doing donations there. And Oculus will be matching donations up to $5,000. So make sure to check that out and obviously give back to the veterans and the active service members who have served our country all around the world, actually. But guys, what a first map. I mean, we were watching those. We saw everything that could possibly happen. And luckily for us, we talked about the grenades and how impactful they can be. Well, we saw a hell of a lot of here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously one thing we didn't really address is the risk reward. Some of those nades nearly killing your own teammates. If you try and toss it up into that second story, it's not always a guaranteed thing. You're going to get it up there like you're expecting it to go. It's not going to bounce maybe one way and come down on your head the next. So we did see some really close team kill, like almost round-ending nades that could have been team kill nades, but yeah, it's...
Yeah, we'll get to those in a little bit, because obviously we have to start at the beginning of the match.
Right.
And Sleepy, we did see the first uplink in the position that we were talking about on Suburbia, being inside that middle house.
Yes.
And off the bat, we did see some interesting defensive strategies about it.
Yeah, especially it struck me as really odd. I mean, I've seen this before where a defending team will put a lot of their player base inside the main house upstairs to heavily defend that objective, get set in their positions, get entrenched into those corners that they have that best ambush position from. But we saw 4 of the beginners in that top section of that house there in the first round to defend, and that to me was a bit excessive. I mean, you're almost running the risk of shooting your own teammate if someone gets a little antsy and wants to peek while you're, and then coincidentally an enemy pops up. You know, that guy's peeking out, this guy pops up, you're drawing fire because you're nervous, you want to get any picks you can, help your team out. So it could go badly for you when you're that tightly cramped up there, but it seemed to work out for them. If I believe they did take that round.
Yep.
So, you know, it did work, but that's kind of what you have to do to defend that objective, because if you get caught off the objective as the last man on defense, it can be tough to get in there and stop them, especially for a fast capping team. So, yeah.
Well, and we did see beginners actually take the first 2 rounds in this match, but coming into, I think it was our second round, we did see Icy Woods. He was one of the players they're looking out for, and we saw a really tricky play as he did push up and take down 2 members. And I know, Nightfire, you wanted to talk about this because, again, in VR, it's a lot different than what you would expect in a traditional FPS.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're not really paying attention, you may not see these sort of unique intricacies, but what Woods did there to sort of capitalize on that play is he turned himself sideways so that his head was sideways to the ground. What that does is it changes the kinematics of your character so that they're straight behind you. And then he slowly pushed out so that just his head was peeking out to catch pants on that balcony. And then he slid back in, uprighted himself, and it was a fantastic maneuver.
Yeah, and that was just after he had picked up Toast on the southern side of that main house where the objective was located there. So he picks up Toast first, and for some reason I noticed that Pants did not immediately react and come out for that refrag. He had the angle on him. Woods was looking the wrong direction. He totally could have had that that refrag, but he didn't take the opportunity, and then it ended up costing him his life because, as we saw, you know, he turned on his side, slid out there, and got the peek.
Yeah, really unfortunate that that did happen, but moving on later on into the match, we talked about Smoils, and honestly, Woods 43 as well, another key player for the team. He did amazing, and it comes back to that initial nade. And again, we talked about so many times, like how important it is to know how to throw a nade exactly where you want it. Well, kicking off that fifth round, we did see a nice double kill start things off.
Yeah, that was beautiful. It was a nice frag that came out there from IC Woods, or Woods 43, I'm sorry, picking up 2 members of GloboChem there on lane 1 on the south side. And then we did see later on, just a few seconds later, the beginners tried to throw a follow-up frag to confirm those 2 members. Unfortunately, that frag fell a little too long and was ineffective in taking down the enemy. But then that was a bit of a mayhem moment, actually. Globo ends up going 3 down and having to take 3 of their syringes off the board. Their utility for revives going very quickly in that round. So
with that, like I said, like the team kill come through or the team down, but they lost basically every syringe they had possibly in that match. But again, you know, Nightfire, we casted them. We casted GloboChem. We cast them against SMC. This was the map of their choice, and they lost against SMC, and they lost again against beginners. Why?
I was sitting kind of scratching my head, too. Once they started to get down at this series, I started to think, why would you pick Suburbia again? You just lost here against SMC, and they watched you lose, so they know why you lost. Yeah. Then they can come in, bring those strategies. Obviously, it works. They win Suburbia. We're going into quarantine, like we were talking about, like Radar was saying. They don't roll over. GloboChem is not a team that is going to easily give up this series. So I think we'll probably see a quarantine win from them, but who knows? Anything's up in the air.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Sleepy, this is a situation that GloboChem likes to seem to put themselves into.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say they necessarily like to put themselves in here, but they often find themselves here in big matches. They end up maybe losing the first map or going down in points pretty significantly. Maybe they're 3-0 looking at a washout map, and then all of a sudden it clicks for them. I don't know what it is, but they just snap and they're on, and then they're laser focused. Their shots start coming out. Their key players start picking up the frags that they need to, and they turn things around and end up coming out the victor in the situation. So just because Globo has lost his first round, I don't think that we can count them out. I think this is a position that they like almost, just because it forces them, it pushes them to play harder, to come up with more intellectual plays, more intel, more tactics. And we know from previous Leicester events that Pants will sometimes create these tactics on the fly in between in these 2-minute sessions that they have in the tent. So to be able to come out with random brand new tactics in the tent between rounds like that is amazing. And I think we'll start to see more of that from GloboChem here as they slowly analyze their opponents.
And that's the luxury they did have, obviously, with the time from qualifying back in June till now. We do have the substitution coming in. We expected this. It's Arsenic coming in for GloboChem. And we kind of need to talk about why he's actually being played. I know we mentioned it before, but if you're just joining us, you obviously missed out on that one. But Nightfire, why are we seeing him come in now?
Well, he is just probably one of the best shots in the league. He's always touted as somebody that is so good at long-range engagements. In Quarantine 1, there's plenty of opportunity for that. He can find some long picks. He can find some long streets to be shooting down. At the same time, he's a double threat because he's fantastic close quarters, too. He's really good at snapshotting, almost on par with Pants.
All right, guys. Well, before we head into the game on Quarantine, do you think we're going to see a switch-up come in? Are you sticking to your guns here with your predictions? Or do you think we're going to see GloboChem take this map? Sleepy, I'm starting to put you on the spot again, but I'm going to do it.
It's fine. I think GloboChem's going to come back and show us that they are here to play still, that they are not just going to be pushed over like that. So I think GloboChem going to take it back here, yeah.
All right, Nightfire, quickly, what's your thoughts?
Beginners.
You think we're going to see a 2-0?
I'm believing in them.
Well, not only are you believing in them, I bet Radarhead, since his team lost to them just before. But guys, let's head back to our casters. It's blue, it's Radarhead, and it's potentially our final map of the day.
Thank you very much once again. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and ready, nearly ready anyway, to get into what could be our final map, but it's going to be here on Quarantine. So, Radarhead, let's talk a little bit about how Quarantine plays into this series for these two teams once again.
Okay, well, GloboChem, this is their favorite map. I mean, everyone in the league knows to fear GloboChem on this map. It's a long-range map. It favors, as we saw, Mr. Death with his long-range kills with boss fight versus beginners. Arsenic taking that position that Mr. Death does. He's the long-range designated marksman. I mean, that puts beginners in a really tough situation. They don't have an answer to that. They don't have their own version of that. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how beginners are going to pull that game back and actually shut down Arsenic, stop that ability that he has.
If there is going to be one area of this matchup where you would say, or of this map, I should say, where you would think beginners would have an advantage going into it, where would you place that? Or is this just such a...
The Quarantine is probably the favorite map for the league players because there are so many avenues. You can do the close range, you do the long range, lots of attack paths, lots of defense paths. And I think a beginner's style of play, they're very patient, the essence of their patience might put GloboChem, especially because GloboChem are a map down, might make them agitated, might bring them out of the defensive positions, get easily picked off. I don't know. GloboChem, the ones to beat on this map. The current champions on their favorite map. I can't call it.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how that shapes up, ladies and gentlemen. As you saw just there, we're pretty much ready to go into it. I think we had to take a look at one of the players' PCs really quickly, and then we are going to be good to start the first round of this upcoming map here and see exactly if we can claim ourselves a winner. A winner, in fact, that will be taking home this trophy, which I believe we have on camera now. Look at that. That is definitely an upgrade from our Season 1 trophies. And that is going to be what the winner of this matchup will be taking home today.
That's a work of art right there. And if you know what, how do the teams decide who takes this? Is it the team captain? Do they fight for it? Maybe they'll have like draw guns at noon, you know?
We'll have to see on that one. Maybe they'll have like dedicated times where they get the trophy. You know, they just ship it between the 5 of them, and someone gets it on Thursdays, someone gets it on Fridays. You know, that kind of thing. But it looks like we are pretty much ready to go, folks. Let's head back into the game now, where we could potentially be claiming our champion. But it's going to be tough, as this map favors their opponents quite heavily. It's a map which should swing the way of Globochem, but we shall see, as beginners have the series advantage, and if they take it, it's all over, and they'll be taking that beautiful trophy home.
And it's the same objective we saw between boss fight and beginners. Again, the first round of the map, just like in that previous game. We saw beginners take this objective against the defenders boss fight. Will we see them take it against Globochem?
We'll have to see on that one, as we do see a bit of a slow start from both teams, if we're being honest here. Globochem themselves pretty much keeping them in a relatively restrained position. Remember, again, we don't have all 5 of the players there due to a small UI bug, so we're not exactly sure where the other 2 players on Globochem have decided to push their positions to. But for the beginners, it's very much that sweeping pattern as well, holding the same extremity of the map left to right, but moving together as a unit.
I can see that actually Globochem have got 2 players in the south, so despite the UI bug, we can actually see that they've got 2 south, 1 north, 2 mid. Now this is almost identical to the boss fight layout we saw against beginners on this very same map, on this very same objective. Will it be actually more successful for Globochem though? I think so, because I don't think Globochem are going to lose the cool. I think where boss fight fell on this, as that with 4 players left versus 2, with the time running out, they started getting antsy. Globochem, I think, are going to hold the lines, make beginners pay for it.
So we are still starting to see beginners mainly carve in from the south right now, as they have a heavy stack there. Good positions established too, and at the moment anyway, no one from Globochem taking that southern extremity behind the sand dunes to try and push them out. So they've actually got a pretty easy path leading up to that final approach to the uplink.
Yep, 4-man push south, 1 guy north. That 1 guy north is on the roof. That gives him lots of lines of sight. There's probably going to be Smoils up there with his LMG. They're going to wait till the key moment. Right, Smoils on the roof with the LMG, and he's just going to lay down suppression fire. He's not going to be looking for the kills necessarily. He's just going to try and draw the attention away from the south, where the real push is coming from.
Additionally to that, as you mentioned, we've got Smoils having overwatch over pretty much the entire northern part of the map and trying to give out communication to correspond to that. The guys in the south have hit a wall. They've run into that main warehouse on the southeast side. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not a wall. It's Woods finding that first very impactful kill against Thunder Pilot on the inside of one of the glass buildings.
Now, what's interesting to see is there's still a second defender in the south. It's not been taken yet. It's really important for beginners that they take the south area. Maybe they'll take for granted that they've just taken 1 player down. Maybe they'll get overextended, but honestly, that's not beginner's style. They're still going to be slow. They're still going to be methodical. And they're going to make sure that they don't get caught with the pants down.
So the beginners will continue to wrap back around, even going past the building where they just took out 1 player, just to check behind that very tall skyscraper right there and make sure that no one else has taken up position behind, and it would come back to bite them later on in the round.
Otto's definitely going to be looking for vengeance for losing his brother. Thunder Pilot down. Otto's got something to prove now, and he's in a key position to stop this south push.
In the meantime, Kushberries as well still holds his position at the wall. Be ready to start moving forward in his own regard here in a few moments, as they've got a very, very nice split going on amongst the beginners to try and push in from the south and take this uplink if at all possible. Remember, Globochem don't necessarily have everyone on top of this either, so there is that potential for a bit of a surprising start if we can see beginners swarming enough and potentially get themselves a cap to start the map.
Yeah, but Otto is holding a very, very tight line there. He's not peeking, he's not losing his cool, and he knows for them to cross that path, they have to push in front of him or shut him down, and they won't be expecting him to be there.
So he'll continue to hold inside of that garage. Nearest teammate to him is going to end up being Kushberries, a little bit over here towards the west now. And he'll be able to hold out in the street, giving them a little bit more room to work off of. And in fact, Kushberries will be pushing instead, moving in to join up with the rest of his own teammates on the beginner's side. to take control over towards that uplink. And here we go. Killinger and Icy Woods will not go directly past that defending player. Instead, they're going to be wrapping around the other way. It's Killinger that gets the kill on Otto, though, and even moves in to finish him off. So he's gone down, and that potential for an uplink is now very much alive.
Killinger on fire. That was such a great takedown.
Got another one being picked up. And oh, actually, there's a revive right there, too, getting Killinger back up after he was sniped out at range. Thankfully, it doesn't last forever. Pants, in the meanwhile, will be able to find another pick, taking down Woods. So Global Chem, they may be down, but they're certainly not out in this round, as they're finding a great amount of trades to at least hold the beginners back here and force them to play a bit more slowly to give Global Chem additional time to formulate their own defense, too. In comes a nade, and it's going to miss, unfortunately.
Oh, it's
and
a team
even
kill.
get a team kill against
Kush is
Kushberries.
down. Not out, but Arstic is going to be looking for that pickup. Second grenade comes in. Kushberry's taken out by Pants.
Slowly, we're seeing more and more of them being lost as Arsenic finds himself another kill here, too. He's able to knock out Dr. Killinger. So Pants and Arsenic still hold strong directly on top of the uplink. They are not going to take anything from anyone at this point, as Arsenic's now able to find Icy Woods. The round's been completely flipped on its head, and it's beginners that now have the disadvantage, with only one player still standing, going up against, I believe, 3 that are still alive from Globochem.
And Smiles, he's a guy, he's a playmaker. He could make it happen. He takes down Pants. He doesn't. Does he know Toast is here?
He's got him, but it's not going to be enough. Toast finishes them off, and it's Globochem that claimed the opening round of the second map.
What an opening round. It looked like beginners had it in the bag. They took down 2 of the defenders, and then suddenly those defenders, they held the line, they take them down.
We're going to take one more look as well at the nade that really kind of messed everything up, unfortunately, for the beginners here. It was looking great on the round for them up until this point, but sadly started to fall apart. Kushberry's moving in just a little bit too soon, and the unfortunate miss on the nade from Icy Woods set him down, never to be recovered later on, unfortunately.
It really destroyed the momentum, and that's what they needed most at that exact moment. Had that grenade gone in, it would have taken down Otto, and that would have allowed Kushberries to push through. And that would have been all the difference. That would have been a cap potential, especially because there was a Global Chem player not in a position to defend that cap. He was in the north area in the motel. It would have been almost impossible for him to get back in time. But Global Chem, the defense holding round 1, they needed this so badly.
And so Global Chem will take advantage upon that, and now it's just a matter of getting those next 3 onto the board to not only save themselves in this event, but also push us to the 3rd and final map of the series. But the true winner will certainly be determined in this one. But remember, there's still that chance for beginners to jump right back into it, as well as they're now going to be switching over to defense. And if they can come back here quickly enough, of course, one mistake costing them a round, which otherwise they've been winning pretty much flawlessly throughout the course of the day, especially in their semifinal, which again, we'll call back to that for a second. For those who didn't get to catch it either on the stream or here in the convention hall, they were able to win it flawlessly, an 8-0 run for themselves in order to make it here to the grand finals.
Oh, they definitely deserve this position in the grand finals. There is no question about that. You know what's so interesting, though? I just realized that beginners chose this map against Globochem. That shows some confidence on their behalf. This is a map that Globochem are famous for being just almost unbeatable on, and yet beginners chose it against them. Does that say they're ready for it? I guess it does.
And strategy-wise, I mean, it looked great going into the round. They seemed to have a great route established for themselves to get up to the uplink. If it wasn't for that grenade, as you had mentioned, more than likely we would have seen the round go pretty convincingly in their fashion, because they had that last complex that they had to worry about by the uplink pretty much surrounded. It was just a matter of knocking out those 2 players, and that was the one goal of the round they couldn't seem to accomplish. Everything else in their strategy leading up to that point, however, was done pretty much perfectly. It's just that one final instance where they unfortunately fell a bit short.
It looked like a set play. It looked like the timing was the grenade would fly past him, it would go on the other side of the wall, maybe it would down a guy, maybe it wouldn't, but the key thing it would do would be deafen the defenders there, and they would not hear Kushberries rushing the position. That would have been a game changer had it landed on the side of the wall.
But
shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Sadly, we don't see that happening, and a very crucial team kill on that grenade ends up throwing the round over to Globochem, giving them an advantage, maybe a little bit of a confidence boost here too that they need to play off of in order to push them forward to take control of this second map and send us on a downfall for our 3rd and final one.
Yeah, I really want to see it go 3rd map. I mean, that's how you want to see every grand final go, right? You want to see it go to the final game, and it would be so intense to see it between these 2 teams. We saw beginners, well, I'm sorry to say it, but destroy Boss Fight on Downfall. And I don't know if Globochem would be able to stop them. I mean, again, but that's a map that would potentially favor Globochem style of play because they have Arsenic, they have the designated sniper, and as I said before, beginners don't seem to have a designated sniper.
We were able to see Arsenic a little bit in that last round. Didn't necessarily become the key player, I would say, for the guys on Globochem to be able to take control of the matchup, but he definitely, I'm pretty sure, found himself a pretty long-range snipe in the midst of that round that, of course, contributed to the impact of knocking out the beginners as we got into the late round there.
You know, the key thing was that Globochem, even though they were on the back foot, did not lose the composure. They held the lines, they kept checking. They didn't, even though they lost the brothers, Thunder Pilot and Auto, they did not give up. They didn't get antsy. They didn't poke corners. They didn't reveal themselves to be picked off, and that's what the difference was. We saw Smoils, though. What a great play. He takes out one defender. He almost takes down the second defender, would have left him in a one-on-one situation.
And so time should be up here relatively soon. In fact, I think here we go, right on cue. We're going to be getting back into the map here now, and it's GloboChem that have the advantage, but it can very easily be tied back up here by beginners now on defense, as they're going to try to take one round for themselves here too. But GloboChem, they've been let out of the gates. They're going to be starting from the far west part of the map. We'll see exactly how they decide to split things on the opening few seconds.
And don't forget, GloboChem saw beginners play boss fight on its exact objective, so they're going to be aware of the positions they're more likely to take. But this is a key thing about beginners. When they do that, they're aware of it. They're not going to set up the same positions, which could pull GloboChem into a false sense of security.
It's going to be a bit of a sweep here again from GloboChem too, to be able to push themselves forward.
Favoring a much more north-heavy approach, which is unusual. Like I said, I mean, we saw beginners doing a south-heavy approach, but that's not unusual. We tend to see that from most teams. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Beginners do not have a north-heavy defense, so it could really, really work to GloboChem's favor.
We've got quite a few players already moved about halfway through the map here, as beginners themselves have chosen to take a very passive position across the board here. Pants just firing out, trying to keep people off the street so that Auto can move forward up to the edge of that wall. And Pants will continue to hold his line right here in the event anyone from beginners does want to take a peek out into the street here, but it's not looking like we're going to see that. Most of their players are stuck in pretty safe positions themselves, either on top of the uplink or just directly north or south of that point.
Beginners are probably the most patient players in this league. And the reason for a lot of the victories is because they don't give away their positions. They hold the defensive line. So, I mean, I understand why GloboChem... Smiles taking down Auto. And then Thunder Pilot. Again, the brothers going down. This is a big, big downer for GloboChem. Down to 3 active players.
Some, again, great marksmanship coming in from the beginners to pick off so many players so early on here, and more importantly, capitalize on the aggressive mistakes of their opponent here, as they may find themselves in a position that they're not necessarily ready to take yet, and because of that, the flank moves in, and we see players like Thunder Pilot going down as a result of that. So the beginners stay strong. Granted, Thunder Pilot could find himself rezzed here still, as he's in a down state, not completely knocked out of the fight just yet, but I don't know if he has anyone near him that would be able to do that to bring him back into the fight.
Smiles just took him down, though. He confirmed that kill. Now Thunder Pilot is completely out. It's a 3-on-5 situation, but that north approach still moving in slowly and strongly.
So they are going to continue to inch closer to the uplink, and in the meantime, beginners continues to also hold in their passive setup, just going to try and take out anyone that dares peek out into the open. Pants, though, making a rather aggressive move here himself, is just going to be immediately cut down by Woods, and that's another member of GloboChem that will meet his end a little bit early in this round.
And it's all down to that north push now between Arsenic and Toast. Now, what's interesting to see is we see Icy Woods in the same position he took against Boss Fight, and that was a key position. It completely stopped the Boss Fight push. And Icy Woods, he's not going to be going down easy, but Arsenic is checking that window. He's looking for anyone poking out. He's not looking in the right direction, though.
And with Icy Woods taking up the motel, unfortunately, in my eyes, this is going to be looking very, very bad for GloboChem. We saw Icy Woods take up the same exact position in the last series and was able to hold against nearly 4 players from his opposing team at the time, pushing in and trying to get him out. But regardless, found, I think, 2 kills for himself while still coming under fire from his opponents. So he knows how to work this position.
Yep, and he will do it confidently, and it will shut down. If they cannot dislodge Woods, there is no hope for GloboChem's north push.
So let's see here, as we are coming down to the wire in a certain extent. Players still have a little bit more time to analyze the site, but as soon as we get below about a minute and 30, within the next 60 seconds or so here, we are going to have to see GloboChem make a move.
But look at this. I mean, again, the beginners, you just see the statues. They aren't moving. They're holding the defensive lines. They aren't peeking out. They're not allowing themselves to be caught out in unfortunate situations. However, Arsenic picking up Kush Breeze, that sniper, that designated sniper rifle coming in, catching that single pixel, punishing it.
He's going to be able to call that out as well. That's the voices you're hearing. We're hearing everyone that's within proximity of the camera, basically. So I see Woods. There's a slight chance maybe that, that gave him away. So I see Woods peeks out, finds him potentially off of those vocal cues, and is able to take him out, stopping any further progress for GloboChem, as we're now just down to Toast here. He's our last player alive for the GloboChem roster.
Toast is an amazing player, and I've seen him go 1 versus 4 against Boss Fight the previous week. If anyone on GloboChem can do it, it's Toast. However, Woods is still in that dominating defensive position, and he won't be able to make the transition across the road with Woods covering it. And Woods indeed is covering it, because he knows there is only one way to that objective, across that road.
Woods will continue to hold the road, basically wait for Toast to make the push. Now remember, Toast was getting calls from his teammate a moment ago that he had taken one down and maybe this area was clear, but now he's seen him go down. He doesn't exactly know where that trade came in from, and not only does he have to deal with Woods, he's got to deal with Killinger right across the street too. This is a no-win scenario really for our last player live on GloboChem. It would have to be a massive play from this man to be able to pull it out, especially with only 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock here. That is not a lot of time at all, especially considering he's still got 4 players from the opposing team still standing.
Killigan is going to pick up Toast in 3, 2, 1, 0, and...
Oh, it's actually Toast that gets the spot first. Fires out a couple shots. He's going to rot back in. Woods, of course, is going to dive onto this, however, start to look for it. But Toast is aware of that. I think he did realize that Woods was holding inside of the motel again, so he's going to try to hug the wall, not give his opponent an angle, but he's got to go back out eventually, and it will be Killinger ready to take the fight this time. So with that round picked up, it's now a tie at 1-1.
Well, you know what? My count might have been a little bit out, but I was right. Killinger picks up that kill, and he was in a perfect position to shut it down, holding that tight line, and a great position behind that pillar. Hard to be hit.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, beginners get themselves right back into it. A little bit of an upset as they started out on defense and lost their way due to an unfortunate grenade, but they bring it right back. Few trades need to be found in the process, but they do take quick control of their own opening defensive round, and that seems to be the nature of these first 2 rounds. The defensive teams dominating, and in the case of GloboChem, quickly flipping the other round back on its heels. We'll take a look at a few replays here as well throughout the course of the round. Smoils being the one to make a big play here and picked up 2 kills within the first 1.5 minutes of the round.
And really important, he took out the brothers. And then again, we talk about the synergy of the players. These are 2 players who have just maximum synergy. Taking them out, the biggest play that could have been made to him, there's no 2 players in that round that they could have taken out would have had as big an effect, in my opinion, as taking out Thunderpilot and Otto.
And so with those 2 down, it didn't leave much else in the way of defense, just a few more players on the northern flank. We did have their long-range player on GloboChem that needed to be dealt with too, and he was the first to go down. Granted, found one of Beginners' own players in the process of going down, but it was IC Woods once again that showed up inside of the motel, just like our previous series, and I think on a very similar uplink point, if not the exact same one. Exactly, he was the hero of that round too, and I would give him the hero mark for this one as well, as he's the one that stops those last 2 players on GloboChem from being able to make a forward push to the uplink.
And it shows, I mean, look, what we see in these situations, you set up an island defender, he's all up there by himself, but it's so important, it shuts down the northern push. He's in a dark room, again, he's dressed in black, in a dark room, harder to see, he has the advantage, and also he can radio in the situation. And as we saw, Killinger had his back. Even though he wasn't in a position to take out Toast, Killinger was, and he's able to communicate that. There is a guy beneath me. I know it's there, you know, so just goes to show the importance of defensive positions. You can't give them up. We saw Boss Fight actually did place a player there. I believe it was Shaku they placed in the same situation as IC Woods. Unfortunately, Shaku got seen and taken down, and it showed that north push much more effective from Beginners.
Yep. So once again, folks, I think we're just waiting at this point here now for our players to be readied up. And oh, there we go. I've got a good internal clock going on. This is the second time I've called it perfectly. So here we go into the 3rd round here now. Either team being able to take an advantage. And for our team on offense, if we could potentially see an uplink here, and that could certainly start to push Beginners into a match, map, and series point situation here if they can claim the uplink.
Yep, so for viewers who've never seen this before, if you're just tuning in now, an uplink gives you 2 points. Downing down the enemy team gives you 1 point. That's only for the blue team, Marsok, Beginners in this situation. Which it means for GloboChem, they need to stop them to getting that white dot, which is in fact the uplink satellite. And to get the uplink, they have to bring out a tablet. You have to memorize a 7-digit code and be within range of the uplink to send that 7-digit code. But what it means is that when you've got that tablet out, you're not defending yourself. You don't have a gun in hand, and it leaves you undefended. So you either have to sneak up or use brute force with your teammates covering you and suppressing the heck out of the defenders.
So Woods will still be holding on top for now. Just trying to waste a little bit more time. Gives him a bit of a nice overwatch on the surrounding portions of the map here too, since it is a bit of a high ground position. From that, you may be able to get lucky and find 1 or 2 players from the opposing team peeking out just a tad too much, and that would give you a great chance to pick up a kill. But besides that, all players pretty much on all sides, as far as we can see from the minimap anyway as well, are frozen in their current positions, waiting for their opponents to make the next move.
The Beginners have got a great staggered offensive line set up right now, which basically means if one of them gets taken down, another player can step in and get the refrag very quickly. also gives them maximum intel of that central area, which is so important on this map, especially with Subjective. They know they have to make the transition. They've given themselves away. They have to make the transition from the north across that middle street, and it's going to be hard to do unless they can dislodge some of those defenders or create a smoke wall to actually cover their approach.
It pretty much is all a big focus on top of that giant warehouse as well. 4 players, I didn't even notice it really until now, 4 players with the beginners stocked up in that position, trying to use it as a springboard for the rest of their push.
Patience, though, from both teams. I mean, Globochem looking for some early grenade pickoffs, looking for any position from beginners. But beginners, patience, as always, a key factor.
And even for Globochem here, the same remark being true for them as we've got players like Pants holding these tiny pinhole angles here just to try and catch a glimpse of members of the beginners. Pants is going to take a little bit of fire, as we can see one member of the beginners going across, but won't deal a whole lot of damage. Like I said, he's got that tiny pinhole angle, so he himself is going to be a pretty hard target to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, that tiny pinhole gives him less than a millisecond to pull that fire off. I mean, you blink, you miss it. Not even that. I mean, that's an almost impossible shot to make, but if anyone can make it, Pants is one of those players.
I think it is Smoils. We've been hearing a few bullets pinging around Pants for a while here, and I think it was Smoils that's the one that's sending in a lot of that fire. In fact, a nade is sent over onto Pants, nearly connects, but as you can see in the distance, it's just a little bit short.
Smoils with that LMG is always like, I am Smoils, hear me roar, as he lays down 50, 60 bullets at the enemy just to draw attention away from the rest of his teammates.
And so that will at least force Pants into a bit more of an open position if he tries to peek it again here. No.
Kushbreeze messing up a defensive smoke there, but that's the beauty of it.
Oh, he missed it again. Come on.
Meanwhile,
there you go.
A beginner's attacker down, not out, so here's Reservoir.
That is important to mention, though, as in a lot of games you'll see, especially when it comes to smokes, once they're on the ground, they're stuck there. They're glued to wherever they end up at. But in this game, it's a little bit different. You can actually pick up a smoke that has already been exploded and throw it to a different position, which, again, will work dynamically with the smoke. It'll change the position of it, and the smoke that's currently there will slowly start to fade out if you throw it to a different spot.
And we've seen Boss Fight use that as a, I mean, the Boss Fight I'm playing right now, but that's who beginners beat. We've seen Boss Fight do a really clever tactics with that, where they move the smoke wall forward. They run to the grenades, they pick them up, they throw them further, run to them, throw them further. Keep that smoke wall moving with them.
It's another very cool feature, for me anyway, with Onward that we don't see in a lot of other FPSs, at least these days. But we've got Icy Woods under a bit more pressure himself here. Should have gotten a good amount of intel, I would have imagined, at least with that much firepower coming against him. Should have been able to see 1, 2 players about to res.
Killing her about to res. Any second now, that's going to put beginners back on 5 players.
See that in just a second. Just keep your eye on the bottom of the screen. If they manage to get that res off, you will be notified about it. Pants, though, he's gone back to that same position, and he might actually get an opportunity this time. We've got Kushberries moving out, and there's that res coming back onto the beginners as well, bringing them back up to a full 5-man core.
Again, Pants with that tiny pinprick to fire through. He sees it. He doesn't make the shot in time. Again, you need on-point reactions to do that. Arsenic picking up Icy Woods, though.
It's going to be Globochem that strike first. Same player that I think we just saw getting revived. Dr. Killinger, though, finds the trade, but it's from a nade, I do believe. So we're not going to see him out of the fight just yet. In fact, Pants is on the way now into the glass house to try and get a res up onto Arsenic. It's a bit of a timed res. He's got to go for this quickly. Otherwise, he may run out of time himself and also go down in this fight. In fact, he can't focus on the res. He's got to worry about the fight. It's danger close from everyone else on beginner. You can hear them calling it out there. You know he's trying to go for the res, but he holds the line anyway. Picks up the first kill. Now gets the res off. He's got Arsenic, and all of a sudden, Kushberries is surrounded in a 1v2, but he's also got support coming in. But no, it's all Globochem all day here right now. Arsenic finding himself another pickup. It's just Smoils left standing in this fight. He's going to have to try to move in, but no, he goes down as well. And a beautiful hold gives the guys on Globochem yet another round.
The center holds. The center holds. That res, that play, Pants on fire there. Reactions going through the roof, getting the revive, getting the kill, stopping the push, stopping the refrags. Amazing plays.
Best part about that as well, their opponents knew exactly what was going on. That's why they pushed in so aggressive. That's why they were trying so hard to stop it. But it's almost as if they could bait it into that situation, and unfortunately, Globochem were ready to take the fight. They knock out, I think, 3, if not all 4 of beginners as players that were in that position and win the round off of it.
Wow, I mean, that, again, could have gone so differently. Had Killinger won that trade against Pants, that would have the center, that would be 2 players out. The res never would have come. That would have left Globochem with 1, maybe 2 defenders, and beginners with all 5 of the players to attack with. Easily could have gone the other way.
So another situation where beginners get so close to closing out the round on offense, but fall just short due to a fatal mistake, and it's the fatal mistake of not killing the one player on Globochem who stood in their way.
How don't know if I'd class that as a mistake rather than...
It's, more of your opponent was better than you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think in that
I'll go with
situation,
that.
right?
I'll go with that,
yeah.
Oops, guys, I made a mistake. I didn't kill the guy. I forgot that's what you do in this game.
But that has now put Global Chem ahead again at 2-1. With the way the defense has been working, though, it's likely that we'd see beginners pick up the next round and tie us up at 2-2. We're waiting for still one team to be able to pick up their first offensive round and see someone push ahead because of that. And that may potentially determine the way that this map goes as well, as if we do see one team finally grabbing themselves an offensive round, that'll push them ahead. That'll give them a little bit of an edge over their opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. And Global Chem need this. They're a map down, the 2-1 up. Can they make it 3-1? They're on the offense right now, so as you've pointed out before, they can get that uplink. They can get that uplink that will close out the map for them.
We haven't seen an uplink here yet at OC5, I don't believe. So
actually, we saw beginners do it against Boss.
We did want to get one in our first match. Or in our second match, excuse me. But here we go, folks. Now, getting ourselves into the next round here, jumping quickly into it this time as well, meaning both teams definitely know what they want to do, and it's a close spawn here for Globochem. They're going to be right next to this uplink position themselves, which is going to be over on the west-south side again. And in fact, Arsenic already finding kills again. He was your hero in the last round, and he might just have to be the hero again, as he's already picked up one for the beginners.
Was that going for the peak, but now it's given away Globochem's approach. And the key thing about this spawn is there's very little approach vectors you can take. You have to cross that road. Or push directly for the objective. Look at all these grenades coming out. Wow, it's just a rain.
Literally flooding the entire street with smokes. And that's going to, of course, give them plenty of coverage if they do want to use it to try and cross the street for themselves.
Look at this
here.
grenade. Doesn't catch him, but it's a good one.
I think it ends up going under the ambulance, so that's going to end up soaking up most of the explosive properties. Oh, it's a highball nade that moves in, and it's Dr. Killinger that's managed to down Thunder Pilot. Now, Pants is right here. He can get the res up, but no, Pants is moving out instead. He's going for an aggressive play. Toast is helping out with this, too. Arsenic finding another kill. IC Woods is able to trade in the process, but remember, Pants is still also sneaking up. He even gets a support nade from the back line there to allow him to continue to push forward.
The res coming out from Arsenic there. That means Globochem's still in the game with the only three defenders left. I still think there's 4 attackers, so this looks good for Globochem on their approach right now. They've managed to penetrate out of that south position, which is really hard to do on this objective.
Woods is going to go upstairs here too. Might just be able to spot either Otto or Pants depending on the position he's taking here, but he's got to be careful because all the focus from them is also on this building. Kushberry is finding himself one pick though, is able to knock down Pants, bring him out of the fight. I see Woods knows he's got some trouble coming his way. You saw it right there. The syringe not only allows you to res teammates, but also to heal yourself in the middle of the fight. Note that, again, you don't have a second one. You've only got the one, so that's a judgment call. But he knows he's coming under pressure from at least 2 players, so he's going to use it in this situation.
The pressure he was feeling right now, just think about it. You know what's on the line here, 25,000. You know there's people coming for you. What do? He's getting brave. He's peeking out. He's not waiting for them to come to him. He's going to them.
Now, they trade each other, in fact, as both end up going down, and both are knocked out entirely as well. No chance of a res coming in there. Thunder Pilot might be able to move in and scrounge a few grenades off of the corpses, but that's all he can gain from this fight now.
I mean, what grenades? We saw all the grenades being spammed earlier. I can't believe there'd be any grenades left in this situation. Smoils and Kushbury's now the 2 defenders holding the objective, holding that line. Thunder Pilot looking for a pickup. He's got an LMG mag in his assault rifle. That means he's got a lot of extra bullets, a lot of reserve bullets just to make some noise.
Arsenic, unfortunately, the spam from him throws away his chances, makes it a bit too obvious what he was trying to do there. Thunder Pilot, though, brings Globochem back into it, but not enough as Kushberry peeks out into the street, finds that final trade, and ties us up again now. His defense is still the name of the game here on our second map. No offending team has won a round yet.
The refrag is real, and it's so important. He heard the shots, he knew his teammate went down, he stepped out, made sure it wasn't in vain. He took the advantage. And that's what makes a difference in this game. When you're too scared, when you get in your own head, when you hear those shots, it's so easy to just hide in the corner and wait for the enemy to come to you. No, but when you know that the teammate that died was nowhere near you, and it has to be at a different angle to where you are, having the confidence, having the forethought, knowing the meta, knowing you can step out almost safely because you know the guy was looking somewhere else, that changes everything. And as we saw, Kushberry's cleaning it up for beginners there, holding the line, bringing that defense through.
It's a very nice play from Kushberry, who's been, I think, slowly stepping up as the day has progressed. A little bit quiet on some of our initial maps, but I think as we got closer to their semifinal earlier, to the end of that, I should say, we really started to see him pick up more and more kills. And in this series, specifically on the second map, he's been quite a consistent fragger in my eyes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, again, every player on both of these teams are legendary. All of them are known. Whenever a player from the league faces any of these in the pub maps, they know the pedigree of the players they're playing against, and it shows. Beginners' teamwork, flawless at the moment. Globochem's teamwork, flawless as well. I mean, it's two such evenly matched teams.
It's coming down to the wire. In fact, we end up now with pretty much the same exact scoreline that we had at the start of Suburbia as well. Just the nature with which that the rounds were won is a little bit different, where we saw a very uplink-focused dominance from the teams in our last map, where they would win both the attacking and the defending round back-to-back. Now it's just the defense. It doesn't matter where the uplink point is. The fact that defense is king here right now, and we've seen our guys on beginners get very close to it 2 times in a row now. They just haven't been able to close out one of those offensive rounds.
No, I mean, again, Quarantine is one of the maps that just about favors the defenders, the Volk team. As we've seen, the defense is holding on every map so far for both these teams. Just about, but it's still holding. Whereas we see on Suburbia or Cargo, the assault team, the attacking team, doesn't necessarily have the disadvantage.
And same as the last map, folks, it is now going to change uplink position again here. But we should also mention that now that both teams are at 2 points, you mentioned this in the last round, it's now a possibility for both teams, depending on which one is on offense, to be able to win the map at this point.
Yeah, beginners are going to be looking for that cap. And this is one of the objectives on this map that we see caps happen quite often, because like the horrid objectives that you get on some maps, there's just no way you can comfortably sit to defend it. You have to cover multiple angles, which leave you in the open. So we're seeing a very aggressive defensive stance from the Globochem right now. Toast might get caught out by Woods as this flank is happening very quickly. Woods wasting no time. He misses the shot, though. Toast still alive.
All 10 players, still going to be tall and strong here at the beginning of the round, but it's Dr. Killinger actually that will strike first here, knowing that they've got an aggressive play coming out against them from Globochem. The beginners now back up a little bit and try and just wait and see if anyone else is going to try their hand at it.
So worth noting, Thunderpilot is down, not out at the moment.
So he can still be revived if they're able to get close enough to bring him back into the fight here too.
But meanwhile, Woods 43 taking down Toast. Down and out. He missed the initial shots on him. Toast didn't reposition and got punished for it. Go ahead.
Globochem are crumbling, and what I want to note here now is if they wanted to, beginners could try to call a bit of a lateral for themselves and try to sneak away over towards the uplink. There might be too much of a focus on this fight, but at the same time, it should be mentioned that Globochem have a lot of players away from the uplink, and that's left it kind of open. They do get a revive up, and Arsenic in the meanwhile, in a different position, is able to find quite a bit of impact too as he knocks out another member of the beginners.
Yeah, look at this flank. It could really, well, there you go. Arsenic taken down. Key position. It's so important knowing that map knowledge, hearing the shots, reacting to it, and really using, again, the sound's so important in this game. Be it communication, be it proximity, be it the sound of gunfire, the grenades, etc., etc., etc. Sound's so important in a game like this.
My guy might be shut down.
So we've got Dr. Killinger. Very communicative round, especially for the beginners here too. They haven't really worried too much about giving their positions away because they know that Globochem have wanted to push against them. Oh, this could be fun right here.
Wow, look at this. Pants hears him. Woods has no idea he's there, but it's a flank round. But again, the sound giving away.
And Pants is going to run right up the hill, knocking them both out. And that's completely flipped the round again. It's looked like it before. Beginners held their defensive position on offense early on in the round. They were able to fend off that aggressive push from Globochem. But now with a play like that coming in from Pants, the round might not be so short anymore, even though just seconds ago they had this down to pretty much a 4v2.
Again, the sound's so important. You saw him swivel as he heard the footsteps rotate round. He rotated with it, and it paid off dividends. 2 for the price of 1.
So now it's come down to the wire once more for the beginners here. They need to try and close out on one of these offensive rounds. They have to do it soon, as otherwise their opponents are going to just continue to push ahead, and they'll win by default eventually if defensive rounds are the only rounds that end up being won here. They'll get the 4 first with the way that the side trades are working out right now.
He sees his feet. He sees his feet.
He's waiting for the peak, though.
He takes the shot. He takes him out. That leaves one defender in the objective. Wide open.
So that's a possibility for an uplink. And remember, folks, with the current scoreline that we're at, beginners could win the entire tournament right now if they are able to successfully send an uplink code. And they've got one player close towards it. It's just about figuring out that last man from Globochem and trying to stop him from stopping the code send.
Oh, beginners, though, they're not confident enough to push in. They know who they're up against. They don't realize the objective could be wide open. You know what? It's not. Otto is on it. Pants also from a different direction, I believe. Also on it. Pants on Otto. 2 versus 2 situation.
Spoils. He's going to start to move out here a little bit himself.
The correct plays coming out from beginners right now. They're not putting. Whoa, here it comes.
Spoils just biting off way more than he can chew in that situation. That's quite obvious for Otto. He's going to have no problem stopping that, and once again, much like many rounds in the past, it's beginners that start off perfectly on their offensive round, but slowly lose too many players, and now they're on the back foot in what is a 1v2.
Again, GlobalChem showing their level of expertise. They're down on the back foot, but they don't give up. They hold. The defense holds again and again and again. Man down, outnumbered. They hold their lines. They make beginners pay for every step they take.
Not only is it a massive problem that they've lost a player down towards the uplink, as look at where this position is of the last man is still standing here for the beginners. He's way off to the north. He has to cover so much ground. He doesn't know where his enemies are at here as well because he's lost all communication with teammates. He still has to try to find a way within the next minute and 15 seconds to get up to that uplink or, of course, close out on the 1v2. But without intel, that's going to prove to be incredibly difficult for him.
Yeah, but it's a good flank coming in right now. They don't, again, the defenders don't know where he's coming from either, so he's got that advantage to his side, but only a minute left on the clock. He's going to be hard-pressed to make it to the objective in a meaningful fashion. And his approach at the moment, unless he changes and diverts to a different direction, will bring him in front of Pants, who's covering that line of approach.
Pants is pretty much at a perfect angle to wait for him to push back in.
40 seconds left on the clock, killing her. I don't know if he's aware how little time is left. He's moving very, very slowly, very, very slowly. Pants, though, is ready. Pants is going to shut him down the moment he comes around that corner.
Not only that, but he's got close support from Otto. If a worst-case scenario happens and we see Pants going out, he's wrapped the corner. Otto immediately hasn't noticed it. However, they are right next to each other. Killinger inching closer and closer. I don't know if he's seen Otto yet either, but no, Otto peeking out pretty aggressively, and there we go. Otto gets the spot first, so it's GlobalChem pushing ahead again on defense. Now they sit on map point with the potential to tie this up at 1-1.
Again, the defense holds. Again, we see very few players left alive at the end of it. There's not been a single round where it's been a whitewash. Every round has been to the wire, every single round. And we're seeing two such evenly matched teams, beginners showing why they're in this final, GlobalChem showing why they're in the final. It's just this is what you want to see in a grand final.
Certainly been one of the closest matches I think we've had here on Quarantine in quite some time. So let's take a quick look once again at the replay from within that round. And Pants' big play that flipped the other way. Like I said before, you can see it right here. Beginners had a massive advantage prior to this. But all of a sudden, Pants, with that massive double kill and the overlook from their opponents and not catching him hiding in that corner, throws the round away.
But did you see his momentum? He took down the two players. He didn't stop. He didn't cower back. He didn't wait for the refrag. Took down two players. And then his momentum carried him all the way to the objective to a great defensive position. He didn't just get 2 kills and hold that line. He got 2 kills and then put him in a place that overwatched the objective very, very effectively.
A massive risk to take, even with those 2 kills going his way as well, as there could have easily been more players hiding around the area that would have been able to find that refrag, as you were mentioning. He just goes right at it, though, and is able to take massive command over the map, along with easily making him the MVP for that last round.
But what you have to remember is that momentum carries him out of the zone where he was firing from. So if a refrag was to come, the beginners players would be looking at where they heard that shot. He wasn't there anymore. He just legged it away from there and got to the objective. And not only did he leg it away from there, he legged it into the correct direction of the objective to place himself in a great defensive spot. Adaptive play, adaptive play, adaptive play. 2 teams who are well renowned for it, and it's coming out. We're seeing it every single round at the moment.
Like we said before, right now, if it continues to go the distance, if things continue to play out as they are right now, it's looking likely that we'll end up on that 3rd map with GlobalChem just barely squeaking through to be able to take map number 2. Our 3rd map, if we need to play it out, is going to end up going over to Downfall. And that's easily our biggest map in the game right now, and probably one of the more difficult ones to play because of the limited options for cover. Here we go.
What we have to bear in mind is that no matter what happens, beginners cannot win this map right now. They can win 1 point, but they cannot close out this map no matter what they do. However, GlobalChem only needs 1 point. They don't need an uplink. They can wipe out the enemy, or they can get the uplink and get bragging rights for 5-2 on Quarantine.
A little bit of comms actually still going on there for GlobalChem, it looks like, as they've got 4 grouped together here. Try to come up with a little last-minute plan before they end up pushing in. And as we're now showing off as well, we got Pants way off in the distance, too. That's taking his own route a little bit further down towards the south.
Arsenic rocking the sniper rifle this time, looking for long-range pickoffs.
Oh, and no, it's going to be Arsenic himself that gets picked off this time. Rushes out into the open where Smoils is ready and waiting. So it's once again beginners on defense that will find themselves the opening kill.
Yeah, I mean, as we were saying before about the importance of gear, this objective, they saw where the spawn, well, they don't know where the spawn is, but they know where the objective is and they know the potential spawn points. So that's why Arsenic went with the sniper rifle there. He knew he was going to be doing some long-range attacks. It was odd to see him move out into the open road, though. Against a team like beginners, you're going to get punished.
Okay, maybe they're reviving him. I'm not sure if I downed him or if I finished him.
So Smoils as well, just trying to give out a little bit of intel. He says he knew he's found players, just doesn't have an exact number as to how many are in this position, so he's going to continue to hold covering fire. And remember, like I said, it's all in your arms, so if Smoils wants to, he can kind of just stick that gun out in the open with both of his arms and make a play. But no, it's a smoke play. Smoils catching another one this time, as he's able to knock out Thunder Pilot with that PKM.
Great positioning from Smoils there, paying off again. 2 kills for him. I don't think he realized he got the first kill. He wasn't sure because the smoke started coming out. I think he thought it was just a down and the smokes were there for the res. Meanwhile, Woods picking up pants, leaving Globochem only 2, I think 2 players.
I believe 2, yes. So that would have been our 3rd kill against them just now. So Globochem are left with, unfortunately, not a whole lot left here in terms of player positioning.
And Beginner's defense line covering the entirety of the map. There is no approach that Globochem can do without having to take out a Beginner's player, dislodging that defensive position.
Potentially just a little bit of overconfidence coming into this round for Globochem. They had a great strat, they had a smoke wall lined up, but Smoils just tears them all to shreds from on top of that AC unit. It's not just him either. More players from the Beginners also found their way into the fight.
And it just goes to show, again, the LMG is not the most effective weapon in the game, but what it can do is lay down a wall of steel. And that's exactly what Smiles did. He saw the smoke, he started firing into the center of it, hoping to get a pick off. I don't know if he actually saw the player he took down, but I mean, he didn't need to. He just had to hold down that trigger and aim it correctly.
So we've got more movement coming in from Auto as well. It was one of our players flanked out a little bit more down towards the south right now, trying to make a play, but look at this. The second he peeks into the open, he's immediately taking fire, so he knows he can't go that route safely.
I'm going to try to smoke to get to the North Valley.
Single smoke. It's not going to give him the protection he'll need to make that cross successfully, especially since he's been nade. They know he's there.
Just got to be very careful with this upcoming peek here. Just got to hope the smoke worked. It's a good thing because it looks like that will be the case. Smoils starting to pay attention to potential flanks to come out from his left side here too.
And you can see from Smoils' perspective that smoke would do absolutely nothing to cover the approach. Meanwhile, though, Otto actually falls back. He's not pushing, but Toast, on the other hand, is rotating in. Seems a bit of miscommunication between the two remaining Globochem players right now.
Comes up on it and decides not to push in. So with that said, Smoils will still stay strong on top of the AC building. Meanwhile, though, it is looking like we're finally going to have Toast make a bit of a play for Globochem here to try to wrap onto Smoils. And Smoils is not paying attention to that wrap right now, so that could prove to be a little bit dangerous. But same as last time, Toast doesn't have that courage to make the final peek around the corner.
But with 2 minutes left, they're nowhere near the objective. They've got so much ground to cover and all of Beginners to work through. I mean, as good as Globochem are, I just can't see how they're going to bring this round out.
It's not an optimal situation, to say the least, right here, right now for Globochem.
Smiles rocking his ever-present LNG, and really, he's just showing the importance of having one player specialize in a weapon like that.
Smoils comes out on top again, even with the LMG, finds an additional pickup on Toast. He still has one more player, I think, out to his extreme left that he's got to be careful of, and that would be the last man standing. Yep, we can see him right there. It's Otto, way in the big buildings. And Smoils even seems to have an inkling that he might be hiding out here. So we'll see if Smoils can just absolutely dominate this round with what I believe would be 4 kills in just a single round here.
I think it was on the analyst desk. I think it was Sleepy who said that his favorite player on Beginners and the one who would make the difference is indeed Smoils, and he's not wrong. I mean, we're seeing Smoils again and again and again and again making these great plays, great shots with not the most accurate weapon in the game, but his reactions are on point, his game knowledge is on point, and he's just doing everything he needs to give Beginners the chance to take this map.
Not even to mention that a 4K in this game is absolutely insane. Unfortunately, though, it's looking like Smoils is going to get stuck up on, but no, Icy Woods is right there to immediately trade it back at a distance. Powerful trades coming in there for the Beginners, and that keeps them in the fight now at 3v3.
Again, great overlapping fields of fire. The fact Smoils was in a position, the only place that Smoils could effectively get taken down was from that line of sight, but Woods was covering that line of sight. It's fine, he didn't save Smoils, but the refrag was real, and this puts us to the match point, or map point.
But it is going to take us, once again, to Beginners' mortal enemy on this map, which has been offense. Really the same for their opponents as well. Yeah. But it's obviously them that have the pressure, them that have the capability to shut down this entire tournament right here, right now. And it's going to be this upcoming round that gets decided.
Exactly what I was going to say. I mean, we're in a situation right now that if Beginners can take this offense, they win the trophy, they win the 25,000, they win the title of being the global champions in Onward. Absolutely. What a stage to do it on.
Not only that, but having the potential to upset as well against Globochem, who prior to this has been holding the #1 position in the world. As you mentioned, beginners have taken them down before in season finals.
Yep.
But this LAN is obviously a very, very different, much more high-stress environment.
Yep, zero lag. It's a LAN situation. You've got all these people watching. You've got this stage, a stunning stage behind you, and the knowledge of what's on the line. It puts pressure on all the players. But again, beginners are cool as cucumbers. I don't know what they've done psychologically to put themselves in this situation. Usually beginners in live and in finals, you can see cracks in their tactics and in their attacks and their reactions. But what we're actually seeing is just beginners are just doing everything flawlessly. Globochem, and the only reason why they haven't won is because they're against Globochem. If they were against any other team, in my opinion, right now, they would have already taken this.
And we did see that earlier as well in the semifinals. They took it without losing a single round for themselves. They had quite the dominant performance out there on our esports stage, and now on the main stage, they just have to prove themselves with one more round. They've gotten so close 3 times in a row now. They've nearly won the offensive round, but fallen short every single time. And this could be the one time. That's it. We just need to see one offensive round picked up by them, and they will be the winners. They will take home that trophy behind us, along with the 25K that comes with it.
One way or another, this is the final time we're going to see this map. This round, no matter who wins it, get used to it, folks. Take pictures, because we're not going to see it again today.
We're going to see something, however, may look a little bit similar to it. Trust me, it's going to be a very, very different play style for these teams, and that will be Downfall. That'll be our 3rd map in the event that Globochem continues to hold strong on defense and claims a 4th round for themselves.
Now, what's really interesting on this objective is that the enemy can spawn in a multitude of places. They can spawn in the southeast, the southwest, or the northwest. Northeast. Now, what that means is that half the defense of this map is trying to figure out where the enemy is coming from. Once you can pinpoint that, the players can rotate around and effectively cover their approach. But at the moment, Globochem have no idea where the attack is coming from, but beginners are playing it perfectly. They're not putting any players out there. They're not doing any suppressing fire. Smoils isn't opened up with his LMG, and it really puts Globochem on the back foot as slowly beginners push in.
For the beginners, they've actually taken a very, very passive start to this round. As far as we can see from our mini-map here, they moved up to kind of the first set of buildings that was available to them inside of this quarantine city, but haven't gone beyond that just yet. They basically are holding here, because remember, in the last round that they played on offense, Globochem got incredibly aggressive and pushed into their spawn. So there is a precedent for them to play this passive in the event Globochem wanted to try something similar.
But you can see Globochem still have no idea. You can see from the set up, they're still covering the west, and there is no beginner's presence in the west, which just goes to show that, again, beginners playing this perfectly. Their tactics are on point. They're not panicking. They're not firing when they don't need to, and they're not giving away their positions.
And that's 2, if not more, players that are in a misposition right now will have to either change positions or change their gaze when we eventually see that push from beginners.
Yep.
With how quiet beginners are being right now, it could be a while before Globochem get any notice that they're actually going to be coming in from the east instead of the south of their position.
But, you know, that's a phrase that's synonymous with beginners. It could be a while. They're very patient. Or just for anyone who's never seen them play before, they are the most patient team in Onward.
We are seeing a great example of that right now, using nearly half the round basically in a static position. Finally, just now starting to make a movement forward, and they're down to about 3.5 minutes left to cross this massive expanse and get them on the uplink.
Amazing. I've never seen this map go to 3.5 minutes without the defenders having realized where the attack is coming from. This is great play from beginners. Slowly, they're pushing into positions, again, not giving away where they are.
We can see some of our players taking rather extreme physical positions here, too, as we've got Killinger quite literally on the ground right now to be able to try and peek this tiny angle underneath the dumpster. This is how creative these players get.
I mean, look at him lying on the floor. I mean, have some self-respect, sir. Stand up.
So he'll get himself back up there, and we'll check back in with him in a little bit here. But beginners are taking no risks. They know the issues that they've run into on offense here.
Psychologically, again, being Globochem, you're in a situation where you might lose this entire final, and you don't know where the enemy is. Where are they? Where are they hiding? It's 3 minutes going on the clock. Where are you, beginners? Where are you? Show yourselves.
It's got to be bothering them for sure, and we're seeing examples of Globochem getting aggressive now to try and find this info. Pants, I think I saw a moment ago, sitting in the street behind just a little tiny barricade that probably won't provide him with the best cover. Meanwhile, we do have the beginners starting to swarm around the school a little bit.
They just don't know. You can still see there's no rotations from Globochem, which means they still don't know where this attack's coming from.
Nades are going to be coming in this. That might start to give away a little bit towards the guys on Globochem.
A perfect perfect airburst grenade from Killinger. Unfortunately, no one there to actually airburst, but still. On point.
Killinger even on a juke reaction there, ducks down a bit as he knows there's nades coming from this direction. He also knows that they might be being crept up on here, so he's actually playing a very smart position right now. Not overpushing. He's going to wait for Globochem to make the first move.
Pants misses Woods 43 on the wing, though. He looks in his direction. It doesn't see him, and then he sees him, takes him down.
Makes up for that very quickly, is able to eliminate him. The rest of the beginners here now are going to have to quickly make up for this. They're already down to 1 minute and 45. They've lost a player, don't have a lot of info to trade. That Arsenic finds another pickup here too as well, as he's able to knock out Icy Woods.
Yeah, that's the Woods brothers out. That leaves it in Cushbury, Smoils, and Dr. Killinger's hands to try and pull this attack out. Because it looks like it's going to be going to the third map. Maybe, maybe not. 1 minute, 25 seconds on the clock. Beginners now facing more and more pressure, and they're rotating around potentially to the same direction where the Woods brothers died.
They might try to just take on players that knock them out head on, but that may not prove to be the best strategy. Remember, only 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining here, and they still have quite a bit of a climb before they're at that uplink. Toast as well has taken up position behind the truck right here, so he's going to be a hard player to get out of his position. Not only that, but he'll have a great advantage because he also has auto supporting him from the wall nearby. They've started to push themselves forward. Under 1 minute here now. They've got to make a move soon. They can't hide behind coverage anymore. Nade comes in, knocking out two. Killinger and Kush go down. Kush does find a trade with his own grenade against Otto, but reminder, Otto can still be revived right here. Toast wants to make the cross. He can get him back up.
Where is the final player? He's Smoils now, could get the res. It's a double res potential, but only 35 seconds on the clock. The rotate is coming in.
Smoils just going to unleash heck with that LMG. However, as he moves in, he still has the possibility to get some of his teammates back up. Cushberry's back in the fight. Time is out, though. 20 seconds left.
Meanwhile, a flank is coming from Otto from behind them. They don't realize it. He's going to pick them both up. 18, 15, 16 seconds left on the clock. Arsenic revives Otto.
Smoils picking up one, but it won't mean much with Pants moving in. He's already picked up the 2 trade kills. Smoils left alone. Less than 10 seconds to go. He is down, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is Globochem that take our second map and tie the series up at 1-1. We are going to our third and final map to decide the series and the winner of Season 2 for the VRL in Onward.
Frag, refrag, frag, refrag, grenades, trading grenades, pinpoint accuracy from both teams, amazing team plays, amazing individual plays, and here we have it. It's going to map number 3.
And as well, some neck-and-neck rounds as we saw everything going down to the wire for the most part here. Couple dominant defensive rounds, but overall, we do end up seeing Globochem come out on top. So we're going to take it back over to our analyst to break down this map and get us ready for our final map on Downfall.
Thank you very much, Blue. And what a match it was, too. We were sitting there watching that, not knowing any idea of who would actually take the victory in the end. But as we did see, we're going to that third and coveted map.
It's what we wanted, right? That's exactly what we wanted to see. Both teams showing up. And, I mean, these series couldn't be any closer. 3-3. So, I mean, 1v1s everywhere. Amazing grenades. This is a treat to watch right now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we're seeing the defensive advantage that is kind of inherent to most maps, just because of the fact that the skill gap on the attacking side is about as the same. Both teams having great attacking rounds, but unfortunately when they need to push at the end, when they need their coordination most, things start to crumble. And that was happening on both sides. So, yeah, I mean, that was a really tight one. But I'm glad, and like I said, I think Globo was going to pull it out. They did, and now we're going to map 3. And
just want to rub that in his face to say, yeah, well, you know, I said Globo. But before we do get into any replays, I want to talk about something that was actually really important that we saw over the course of the match is adaptation. And again, we talked about how teams have had the opportunity to look into what their opponents are doing and read into that. And we saw Otto actually take a spot that Smoils typically takes on beginners in that first round.
Yeah, it was a unique position, a position that holds a really tight angle. It's something that I think maybe they were ready for. They are anticipating that spot. Usually if someone reuses the spot that you use, you obviously check that angle if you're going to push forward. It doesn't catch him any picks, and he got shot there in that corner. So it didn't pay off for him, but he did try to adapt and sort of take a new position that wasn't normal for him.
And we do obviously have some replays. In round 3, we had a crazy one, Nightfire. It came down to the ruins. It came down to the last few seconds. As you can walk us through this.
Yeah, this was absolutely insane. I mean, this is such a mind game here because Pants is debating if he has to pick up Arsenic or if he's going to go for these picks. Arsenic is probably down, calling out the position of Killinger. Pants pops up, grabs himself 1 here, and now it's all up to him to defend on this final push. Finally decides the res is worth it, gets it, and then wreaks havoc. I mean, it was a fantastic, patient play from him that got him that win.
Yeah, and Sleepy, you know, looking at that one as well, because we talked about, you know, before that even broke down, was he actually was typically playing in the ruins, but he changed up his position specifically for that round and actually played on the outside, trying to expect them to expect him to be on the inside. So I love when teams do that. You know, obviously playing in Leicester, you know, you've had the opportunity to like research into teams. It's really cool to see that come into fruition.
Yeah, as good as it is to be able to use a known position of an enemy teammate that they use frequently, to use that against them, it's also great to use the fact that they know that you like to take a certain position and change that on them so that when they look here, you're over here, like, hi, and
well, hopefully you don't say hi first. Hopefully you're actually shooting them in that
Depending
situation.
on the player, you might hear them actually greet them or catch their attention to look for that player model to turn and look and just say, oh, no.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, we did have a situation happen where Pants caught them, well, with their pants down and actually had the opportunity to say hi in round 5.
Yeah, and I mean, the spot he took was ridiculous. I've never seen anybody sitting there. I mean, nobody sits at that bottom of that hill to look for picks. That's why they weren't expecting him there. They did look out a little bit around that corner to see if he was there. They didn't see anything, and they started to move, and they got punished for it.
It was really well done. It was really cool to see. And we did also see the defensive rotations I want you to talk about really quick, Sleepy, because Global Chem, off the back of that kill as well, or the double kill, we saw them rotate in really timed and perfectly placed positions.
Yeah, we talked about that when that round was going. The defensive adaptation from Globochem and that double kill from Pants there really turned the momentum of that round. I think Beginners had a great push going. They had a few members of Globochem already picked. They were down to the last few defenders to have to take care of before they can move in for the cap or clear the round. But unfortunately, that double pick from Pants changes the momentum, and then they were able to rotate their defense in order to cover the objective better with the number of defensive players that they had remaining. So that defensive adaptation, that adaptation and situal awareness when you're on the defense is so crucial to being able to stop these caps and to being able to take down your enemies and make sure that they don't get those attacking points. And I think that's one thing that Globo does well. Their adaptation is on point, and we got to see that here. But yeah, I mean, just battling it out, defensive win for defensive win.
And one thing I want to talk about, obviously, is kind of boast us up, because we talked about grenades and how important they are and how important it is to be really good at them. We saw in round 7, Arsenic, again, just a nice little 2-piece just off the nade alone.
Man, I mean, these air bursts, the cooked grenades, you're not really seeing any nades that are dropping and rolling. Almost everything's exploding as soon as it makes contact. One quick bounce there grabs 2. I mean, these guys are timing this stuff perfectly.
All right, well, you can see there, I mean, how that really affects them mentally as well to lose 2 people into that one as our players are on our Eye by Power PCs, the Snowblind edition. But we do have to head to a short break. But when we come back, we're continuing the grand finals here for Onward at Oculus Connect 5. And of course, a big shout out to Intel, as they are a main sponsor here for the VR League over the course of the entire season. And of course, as we're here at Oculus Connect 5, we have our 3rd map ready, Downfall. We were hoping to see 3 maps. We were hoping to see Globochem really start to shine, and it came down with Arsenic. But I have to ask you, I'm going to go to Nightfire first, give you the opportunity to think about it. Do you want to change your prediction about Beginners, or do you want to stick to them?
Well, my initial prediction was 2-1. I changed that to 2-0. I was feeling confident on that last map. It didn't quite work out, so I'm sticking 2-1 Beginners.
All right, real quick, what's your thoughts?
I still think Globochem, but Beginners have beat Globochem on this map before, so.
All right, well, we'll find out as we do get the game underway. Blue and Radar Head, take it away.
Thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're diving into our final map here between the Beginners and Globochem. That's it. There's no other maps remaining, so the winner of this one is taking home the trophy. We're getting directly into it. It's going to be the Beginners starting off on defense. Globochem will jump onto offense.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that last time Beginners won the championship, this was the map they did it on. They defeated Globochem, and this was the map they decided it. And again, if they're to do it again, it has to be on this map.
believe even for beginners going into our previous series, it was this map that decided their fate to bring them into the grand finals. They won it dominantly against their opponents in that scenario, and will now just have to shut it down one more time to be able to claim the trophy and the upset against Globochem. But if not, the reigning champions will continue to hold the title, and they will take home that big trophy at $25,000.
Beginners locking down that defense of this situation. The absolute ambush style surrounding the objective. They're not looking. Whoa!
Whoa! Toast coming out with a marksman shot out of nowhere. Woods doesn't even know how to react to that one as he is down. Should note he's down, but not out just yet, though. We can see someone come in for a res.
I think it's worth noting the names are actually not correct at the moment, so it's actually beginners who are attacking and Globochem on defense.
So that fixed as quickly as possible. The UI for you folks out there. We've got Woods right now starting to push in for the beginners on offense, as it would seem. Globochem sticking it back on defense.
Revive comes out. It's still a 5 versus 5 situation.
We've got ourselves still in an even scenario. And as a reminder, once again, with Downfall, it's a very, very open map, and you can probably already tell just by looking at that minimap, there's not a whole lot of coverage to work with here.
Look at the speed he reloaded that then. Such practice excellence.
I imagine they've got quite a bit of rehearsal on that at this point.
Oh, yeah.
12 to 20 hours a week of gameplay, if not more, for some of our more dedicated players as well.
Oh, I can guarantee you every single person on each of these teams has done that for the last month at least.
No, wait, it's coming from.
But it's looking like beginners on offense here are going to start to maybe move out from this building soon. There's basically a big cross they have to worry about here in the north, and they're right at the threshold of where that cross begins.
They've got a good spread, though. They've got a player in the middle, Killinger taking out Auto. Again, Killinger showing how good he is at this game. His practice is paying off, and there's a reason why he's a captain of this team.
Very much so, and we'll be able to strike the first true kill coming in on this round, as we do see the defending team losing one of their 5 right and early in the round here. More so about just under halfway through it. But regardless, we do end up having Globochem, or beginners, excuse me, move in for the swarm on the uplink, and Globochem on defense, remaining stalwart in their current positions, just having a complete surrounding of the point. It should be noted, though, there's not a lot of players playing together right now, so capabilities for trades are going to be a bit diminished because they've taken up so many different positions across the map here.
I've just realized there was a substitution by Globochem for this map. They swapped out Thunderpilot for Raphael.
Oh, really?
Yep. Smoils picking up Arsenic.
Brought him back in, and Smoils once again continuing to show his strength here as well, as it is the beginners pushing ahead early on, bringing this down to a 5v3. Smoils' most recent kill is a direct frag. No chance at a revive to come in from that one.
Now, it's worth noting this objective is one of the easier ones to hold on this map, in my opinion. However, 2 defenders down, this is not what you expect to see, especially on this objective. Usually, the kills come out in the final minute as the approach on the objective happens. It's not happening. Beginners are picking them off at range before they even get close.
Beginners have what they need now to start to make a push towards the uplink as well. When that possibility starts to rear its ugly head, at least it's ugly for Globochem at this point, but with them losing so many players at the start and this being such a big map, it does open up that possibility if we can see someone from the beginners sneak in towards the uplink.
Beginners taking the time now. They've pushed up. They've got 1:40 left on the clock. They're looking for pickoffs. They're reorganizing. They're not just rushing in for the kill. Meanwhile, Globochem holding those defensive lines.
Oh, and Pants with a close-range fight. The problem is, though, he's got to worry as he thinks he's cleared it out. Even goes for the double tap against his opponent, but Icy Woods is not so aggressive that he immediately moves in to try and find the trade. Pants will still remain safe inside of the building. Woods may be trying to delay this a little bit just to give his opponent a bit of a false sense of security. Dr. Killinger, in the meanwhile, gets another knock as he brings Toast down.
What a great grenade! Again, Killinger's grenades have been on point all night.
Oh, and there we go. There's Woods jumping into the fight.
Wow.
Not even getting Pants inside his realize as well. Getting Raphael, who I think might have been moving to join Pants or get close to him. So all of a sudden, Pants has to worry about Icy Woods as well.
The objective is wide open. There's only one defender left up. They need to not kill him. They need to go for the objective. But Woods doesn't know it. He takes the kill, and it's Globochem losing at the defense on the most defendable objective on this map. It's unbelievable. And they did it with 4 players still alive.
We should mention again, it does say that Global Chem won, but because the teams were flipped, it's actually Beginners' roster that takes control of that one. So they're going to start this third and final map out with a 1-0 advantage.
Wow, I mean, that psychologically, that's going to hit Global Chem hard. This is the map they should be holding. This objective is the objective they should be holding. And a massive upset coming from Beginners just there, taking it off them and taking them off them convincingly.
And as well, let's talk about Beginners winning a round on offense finally, right?
Right.
So after not being able to pull it off for 4 or 5, 3 or 4 times in a row back on our previous map, they immediately win the first round on the third and final map.
You know, if I was a betting man, I would have lost them a lot of money just then, because I would have been like, oh, okay, so this objective, this objective, this objective, this objective, they could have taken on this one, this one, this one. But if there was any objective, I would say the Beginners wouldn't be able to take it, would have been that objective, which they just took, just ridiculously, losing only 1 man. Woods there in a perfect situation. He didn't rush up for Pants, took out Raph. Pants was forced to come around. Woods takes him out as well.
Even better, he's got a complete lock on Pants. So if Pants gets aggressive and has to change positions at any point, he should have that man dead to rights, basically. So has complete control of that situation. Given the amount of time that was left in the round at that point, too, had no problems at all, just sitting back and waiting for his opponent to make the next move there.
I have to think, though, there was a little bit of lack of communication, or they didn't realize how many players they took down, because ultimately, they didn't realize that there was only 1 defender left and that the objective was wide open. Had they realized the objective was wide open, they easily would have just held a line, left Pants there, flanked around, and gone for an easy cap.
And with that, would have been able to fortify their lead even more so by pushing it up to a 2-point lead to start, not just 1 point, but now they get to go on defense. On that same uplink point, as you mentioned before, this should be relatively easy to defend. So if they can carry that part through and are able to take it for themselves, they'll already be off to a hot start here with a 2-0 lead.
Go on the highest hill you can find.
All right, round 2, the final map, map 3 for 25,000 for the trophy. Beginners on defense, Global Chem on attack. Let's see if they can turn that attack into a victory the same way the Beginners were able to do so successfully just now.
So in we're gonna go, folks.
Yep. Just to reiterate, Beginners are 1-0. The UI is not correct at the moment.
I've tested it before.
See if Global Chem can make it 1-1. Really interesting defensive setups from Beginners. Again, they do defensive setups that no one else does. There's no other team that I know of that puts 2 players on that position so effectively. And you will see them rock in an ambush-style defense. They're not looking for the pickoffs. They're looking to allow the enemy into their positions, and then they're going to pick them off when it's too late for them. They're going to allow them into their lair and then just crush them when they get there.
And
well, that's the plan, at least.
We should mention as well, guys, that the UI is now correct. It's been fixed, so Beginners at 1-0 is correct. So getting further into this round, we will be seeing the Beginners actually have a pretty strong hold just around the uplink itself, kind of similar to that star formation we had from Global Chem on the last round. Global Chem themselves still taking it very, very slowly, holding at those similar extremities that we saw Beginners doing on the previous round here too. They've reached that excess point and are now just waiting for their own capability to push in.
What am I seeing right now? Raphael is rocking a shield on downfall. I mean, there are some players who have argued with about this. The Lonely Viper specifically has often said, use a shield on downfall, and I said it's a ridiculous move. Yet here we're seeing Global Chem on this stage rocking a shield on downfall, the most open map available to the league. Crazy, and let's see if it pays off.
It's a pretty insane thing because it limits you to a pistol in most circumstances, right? And for such a long-range map, you don't want to be brought down to only having your pistol, which obviously is going to be a much harder weapon to try and use at these types of ranges.
I think I actually have money riding on this situation. I think I made a bet with that person. We will never see this on this kind of stage, a shield used on downfall. We've never seen it used in the league, let alone on this stage.
Well, if there ever was a time to bring out some new strategies, it might be now, but we'll have to see how it works out for Global Chem if it allows them to bring them back and quickly tie this up at 1-1, with us looking at a very different dynamic in that case, as that would have been 2 offensive rounds, 1 in a row. Obviously very, very different from the very defensively dominated map that we had back on Q1.
See now a very, very confident push from Global Chem.
Probably dumpster buildings.
But it's been called out. Kushberries, Smoils, everyone. You can see that, like, from the mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the direction that they're looking, and for the most part, they're checking that south approach. They know it's coming. There's not much they can do about it right now, but they can choose to pick off those approach vectors.
So the action continue to unfold as the players have started to spot each other, and more specifically beginners start to get a lock on the strategy for GloboChem. Here's the call. They're going to start to make a push forward with Raphael leading on the shield. Arsenic right behind him to defend him.
Raph, clear upstairs slowly. I'll be right behind you.
God, great communication between the team right now.
Arsenic will move in. They'll both try to work it together here. Meanwhile, no actual frags being found just yet, but they have reached the roof, a very important roof for them to try and play off of here.
I know.
But that's really interesting. Again, it's almost impossible to take down Arsenic without a grenade. He's able to push up to that roof, use the shield in front of him. He's not looking for a kill, he's looking for intel. He's looking to disrupt the defense line without actually successfully getting a kill. But look, he's confidently doing it.
Raphael can just peek up on top here. Ooh, playing for a little bit of intel too. In fact, they're trying to bait Kushberries into peeking a little bit here so they can maybe take him down.
So far, all 10 players left, 2 minutes left on the clock.
And meanwhile, Woods, I don't think he's had to give himself away just yet either. They will have to push past him and try to flush him out of his current position. So,
it's a friendly grenade from Arsenic taking down Pants.
Arsenic throwing the nade just a little bit short of the distance he would like, but Kushberry is in a troubled position here too, as we can see him get knocked out by it. Woods will move outside of the house, get the double tap against Pants and finish him off.
That was a smoke grenade that landed in there just to disrupt that defense line. It was not an aggressive grenade. It was there just to literally limit that point of view.
Must have been the player that threw it didn't have another option really at that situation. But regardless, Raphael's now moved forward. Dr. Killinger in the meantime though has picked up another frag against Toast this time. And it's down to Arsenic and Raphael, I do believe. They're all that's left standing. Raphael's still trying to scavenge from his now dead teammate and get a better weapon out of that, hopefully, I would believe.
5 versus 2 situation. It's not looking for great for GloboChem right now.
Woods having no problems at all. Will peek out into that, and he's got plenty of ammo to unload into Raphael. There gets the double tap to finish him off. Arsenic's all that's standing here for GloboChem, and unfortunately he doesn't stand much of a chance. Woods makes the last push. Arsenic will hold the line there, but he's still got a long way to go here. It's only the start of the comeback, and there's now less than a minute left to go on the clock.
But he realizes he's the last man remaining. He knows how much time is left on the clock. He knows what's at stake. He knows he's taken down one player, and that's all he knows. He doesn't realize that there's still 4 remaining.
Arsenic going to be going for the peak in a second. He has actually scavenged the riot shield here too, so he's going to try to use it. Obviously, that'll make his push quite obvious here, and he's been found out, but it is a shield, so it will serve its purpose quite well. Glass doesn't have a limit either, in case you folks at home that are new are wondering that. It's going to stay solid the entire time. So he's going to push up to the building and has to just hope that it's only Kushberries on the inside. Drops the shield to his back, gets up against the side of the building, but the question is, now what? You still got less than 20 seconds left to make this play.
25 grand at stake here, and he knows it, and he's taken down, but he made a great play. There was confidence there, but with only 20 seconds left on the clock.
Quick thinking at the minimum to at least try to get him to a better position, which that goal was accomplished. It was just he didn't really seem to have a plan once he reached that second house and put the shield on his back. So as we saw with just a few seconds left, one of the members inside of the house quickly pushed out, took him down. And with that, that's the beginners at a 2-0 lead now.
Again, 25,000 on the block right now. And it's that pressure changes everything.
Absolutely. Changes everything because now with him going back on offense once again,
yeah, I mean, there are 2 points.
You know what
down.
that means?
Yeah.
And now basically with them going back onto offense again, the 2 points is now a possibility for them to be able to take the entire map, the entire series, and this entire league as well along with it. They'll be the champions for Onward. They'll take home the trophy, and once again, they'll get the upset against GloboChem to reclaim that #1 spot, hopefully.
Again, the uplink gives you 2 points. So as you've stated before, the fact that beginners are on attack on 2 points mean they can shut out this map right now. If they can get the uplink, they walk a while away with the trophy.
We've been going for a few hours here now. So
yeah. So basically, beginners in a commanding position.
And it's do or die time for GloboChem, basically.
Yep.
No rounds left, really, where they can lose this. Obviously, they can force beginners into only picking up the 1 point for the upcoming round, but they have to treat every round like it's their last from this point forward. And that is going to continue to on the pressure that they've been feeling throughout this match.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put myself in this situation. No team in the world can put themselves in this situation. No Onward team has ever felt the pressure that they're feeling on this stage right now. No, the stakes have never been this high.
It's truly the case, especially for our Onward players. And we should remind you folks at home that it's not just Onward that the VRL covers. We had the Unspoken Grand Finals happening back out on our esports stage outside a little bit earlier today, and we claimed our champion there, I do believe. And starting tomorrow, we're also going to be having more action here in the convention hall and on this channel, where you guys can check out the action for both Sprint Vector and Echo Arenas. We'll be having the finals for both of those games going on tomorrow. But here we go into what could possibly be the final round of the tournament if beginners are able to pull off an uplink. If not, it can serve to only fortify their lead by potentially claiming a 3rd point.
A very similar objective to the last round. Literally meters away from it. I mean, what we tend to see is the defensive setups are very similar for both these objectives. Well, we aren't seeing that from the from GlobalChem right now. The spread very much looking towards the south, anticipating that push. 25,000 on the line here. This could be the end. If beginners are able to get the uplink, it's game over. They walk away with a trophy. They walk away with the money. They walk away with a heads up high, knowing they are the best in the world.
Not only that, but we should mention here too that our 2nd place team isn't going to be walking away with nothing. 2nd place is also going to be going home with, if memory serves me correctly, $15,000 for our 2nd place spot as well.
I mean, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
No, that's pretty good.
Not bad at all. Even our 3rd and 4th place teams, which had claimed their own prize spots earlier today, each took home $10,000 just for making it to the stage in the tournament. And we should also say that these guys have been trying to qualify for this event for the last, I believe, 4 months now is about how long the qualification run-up has been going. So it has been a long journey to come to its final conclusion today.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that there's over 40 active teams in the league. Each of those teams is made up of at least 6 players. There's so many players involved. So just to say that they fought long and hard to get here is almost an understatement. I mean, this is again, the two Leicester Invitationals, the league itself, multiple fights, multiple fronts, great teams all around. There's so many teams we aren't seeing on this stage who are of top caliber, but we're seeing the 4 best teams at the moment.
So it's a slow burn once again for the beginners here, as they're going to take their time to try and flush out any info they might be able to realize here against GlobalChem's defensive setup. GlobalChem, same strategy for them. They're not trying to give away a whole lot themselves. They're going to stick nice and tight inside of the village.
Dr. Killinger's approach here gives me neck ache. Just watching him do it gives me neck ache. Just watching it. I don't know how he does it. I think he just must lie at home on that side just to strengthen those neck muscles.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to smooth himself along the ground there to creep up on the village. You can see him there too. That's, I believe, is his camera on the bottom left, as these players will get down nice and low. They do have to, basically their stance needs to be emulated, but the actual movement, it's not done with their feet, it is done with the joysticks on their left controller.
That micro movement when they get there, they actually do that in person. So when they're leaning around, when they're lying down, they're actually doing that in person. But the actual general movement, like you said, is done by the thumbsticks.
Anything with the arms and the head is being done by them, essentially.
So it's worth, again, pointing out that an uplink is a risk-reward situation. If you're able...
Right?
Sorry, just listening to the comms a second. Again, comms so important. But anyway, back to the uplink. When you do the uplink, you have to memorize a 7-digit code. You have to get the pad out, move towards the objective, be within range of it. But when you're doing so, you're undefended. You can't shoot anyone. You're holding the pad in your hand, and you have to enter that 7-digit code that you've memorized under pressure. Your hand's shaking. You don't know if an enemy's going to come around the corner. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of skill to carry that off.
GlobalChem here so far remaining a statue in terms of their own defensive setup, and that's allowed for beginners to already move all the way through the South Valley with 2 of their own players taking up some of the first buildings. That's going to give them a nice springboard to work off of, as their other 3 players still holding out of the northern end of the map also still need to find a route to get inside the actual site itself. That's going to prove to be the harder cross for these guys, but if they can make it all the way, that's going to give them a massive amount of angles to play off of here against GlobalChem's defense.
I mean, you don't realize it, but GlobalChem don't know how many people are coming from the south. You can see that they're focusing on it a lot. There's only 2 players there. They think there's more than 2. There's a big approach coming from the rest of the map. Look at the spread. We've got 1 in the north, 1 in the middle, well, 2 in the middle, actually. And GlobalChem only thinking, well, maybe only thinking there's only 2.
Woods in the meanwhile. Woods 43 taking up the northernmost extremity here. Woods 43 also unfortunately losing his brother there just a few seconds ago as Arsenic down in the middle of the map. He is able to pick off IC Woods. Stop him from being revived as well. Besides this, we're down to about 1.5 minutes I think beginners were banking a lot on this round coming out to Globochem potentially over-peaking and then being able to find a lot of opening round picks here, but that has not been the case. Globochem, like I said before, remain statues and are still sitting back in their defensive setup with 1 minute and 20 left.
Wow. 1 minute. Killinger now pushing for Raphael. Wow, Killinger takes him, but it could have gone either way.
So Dr. Killinger will be able to win on a very important 1v1. Maybe exactly what the beginners need to get them back into this round is they no longer have time to play this slowly. They have to rush in at this point and try to take as much map control as they can as quickly as possible.
4 versus 4 situation. I don't see how they, well, I mean, I don't know which team can take this. Beginners, this is the zone. The moment it hits the 1 minute mark, it's beginners o'clock. And we're seeing them now pushing confidently on the objective, but Globochem holding those defensive lines.
Arsenic coming under a little bit of pressure there from Dr. Killinger across the way, but Arsenic not biting into that, not taking the bait and peeking out. Dr. Killinger is awaiting it. Toast, in the meanwhile, is going to be able to finish off Dr. Killinger, and Pants will also peek out from the wall position to find and pick up Woods. Will successfully find an additional trade against Toast, but it's not enough. Still, the clock continues to tick down, and Arsenic finally getting an angle here, picks up another kill. Otto will finish off Smoils, and with that should pretty much seal the deal here as we're down to only 1 player still standing for the beginners. And Globochem, yeah, Globochem have this all but
Whoa,
secured.
Look at that to the left, he misses Pants. Pants is going to turn around and take him out any second now. He has to, and there it is.
And not only that, but the timer is going to expire in a second anyway. So Pants will close it out. Globochem finally get their first round onto the board on this new uplink point as they bring it up to a 2-1 scoreline. Still, however, with beginners in the lead.
I mean, maybe the viewers don't realize, but when that time runs out, the defenders get 1 point. So the attackers have no choice but to push on the objective when it comes to that. And the problem with beginners' approach is that they like to leave things to the last minute, maybe the last 2 minutes, but famously the last minute, which leaves them very, very, very little room to play with, if anything goes wrong, as it did in this situation.
And that's what we saw. Like I said before, I want to believe the beginners were kind of sitting back and waiting for Globochem to maybe get a bit more aggressive, as they had certainly done in the first round at minimum. We saw quite a few players lost because of that, but it didn't happen nearly as much this time. Globochem stayed incredibly passive, forced beginners to make the play as the clock eventually ran down under that minute. And as we saw, when they were forced to rush, plenty of mistakes were made by them, and that made it easy for Globochem to shut out the round.
Yep. Globochem, even though they're so close to losing this, not losing the composure, still holding the line. Effectively there, they had 4 players still up. And we saw patience from Arsenic, for instance. It would have been really easy for him to poke out, try and get a pick off. But no, he held his line, he waited for them to go past him. And that's the strength of the position that he was playing.
So once more, folks, we're in that transition period right now in between the rounds where our players are sent back to the tent. They have a drawing board that mainly the team captain, but of course other teammates can use as well to draw on to come up with their strategy for the upcoming round. Because lines of communication are not always available while in the round itself, it's important to get the strategy straight before the round starts, and because of that, players are given 2 minutes in order to come up and clarify the strategy with their teams before they are thrown back into the arena.
Yep, which gives the ability to analyze the enemy plays and adapt your tactics before you start the round. Really, really draw out. I mean, those 2 minutes are vital. Draw out attack paths, say who's going where, saying what setups they're doing, and it's so important. As we mentioned before, there's 8 points involved. You have to spend those 8 points wisely. Sniper rifles, grenades, smoke grenades. What do you spend it on? You have to communicate that right before the round starts, and you've got a small window to do it in.
All right, guys, well, here we go. At 6 minutes, players are let out of their spawns and into the fields, and we will have to see if beginners can keep it together now that they're back on defense once again at that same uplink point that Globochem just defended. At the same time, it's Globochem that now need to look for the tying point or the lead point as well if they can send it uplink to be able to put them back in a controlling position for this matchup.
Yeah, no matter what happens right now, beginners cannot win this map in this round. They can only get maximum 1 point, whereas Globochem could walk away with 2 points, which would put them on a commanding lead and on the advantage of defense.
Think, boys, think. Use your...
So to start it out, it's going to be Globochem swinging up way over towards the north here.
Some uplifting communication between them. You heard that, they were upping each other, they were G'ing each other up. They're not out of this, they were still buffing each other. And at the end of the day, morale is important in this game. It's so easy when you're losing to really, really just forget to communicate, to retreat into your shell, and it really affects your aim, it affects refrag potential, it affects everything. So they need to keep the spirits up, they need to keep G'd up, and they need to know that they can still win this.
They still want to see a close matchup as well at the end of the day here. So Globochem get you closer to elimination. They're going to have to look for some rounds themselves to keep this fight close against the beginners as well. Still open up a chance for Globochem to actually take the tournament along with that trophy that's sitting center stage right now.
So we've seen a lot of fantastic grenades throughout this entire series from both teams, and it's worth noting that that grenade, it's not like in an FPS game like Counter-Strike or anything where you can just aim your reticle and then just hold down G and let go and the grenade will fly out. You literally have to throw the grenade with your arm. So it's all about how accurate you are at throwing things, as in real life. How strong you are, the angle you throw it at, and that takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, but basically, unlike in games like Counter-Strike, where the throwing force is kind of predetermined, you have a lot of spots where little tiny marks, basically, where you can throw a grenade and end up with like a perfect smoke. You can't really accomplish that in this game. It all has to be basically muscle memory, essentially. You have to hope that you're able to replicate that in a live match like this.
And again, we see airbursts, so the grenade blows up in the air, which means it negates any cover that might be underneath it. And that, again, takes practice. That takes confidence in how long exactly. And you can't just sit there counting. You know, it becomes that subconscious thing, that muscle memory, like you said, knowing I've held it. Subconsciously, I throw it now. I know it's going to blow up exactly over there. And that's the difference between these top caliber teams.
Well, again, the timer has started to tick down here. We're just under halfway through the round. And much like our previous round, Globochem this time on offense has been hesitant to make any aggressive movement against the beginners, but that looks like it's going to be changing here now as they get smokes and this massive divide to the north that often becomes a very, very difficult part of the map to cross for both teams.
Look at this four-man stack in this building, though. And again, I'm seeing unusual plays. I don't know whether it's confidence. I don't know if it's dynamic approach, or is it nerves that you've seen 4 guys within a single grenade potential is unusual at this stage of the game.
So Arsenic has successfully made it across, the first to do so. Certainly not the last as well, as we're going to be seeing more joining him in just a moment here. He's already got more of his teammates starting to run to the outside and cross the way to start putting some pressure on both Kushberries and Smoils, who hold position inside of this house.
But beginners know the attack's coming from the direction. Every single one of the beginners players is looking to the north right now. There's not a single Globochem rotating from the south, so beginners could hold this.
Another nade going to be chucked out here. I believe that'll just be another supporting smoke for them to try and work off of. But they're still a little bit hesitant on making the move itself. And they're going to soon run into that same problem that beginners did. They're already 1 foot ahead of the beginners in the previous round here. They've already made it across the Great Divide in the north, and as well have a good springboard to work off to move on the site.
How close they are right now. There's maybe 1 meter between them.
In fact, Smoils, I think, quite literally had his hollow on to Toast a second ago. He's going to run outside, try to take him down. Successfully subdues Toast and will be able to knock him out, retreating safely into the building afterwards.
The stairs absorbing about 50 of those bullets, but you know what? He's carrying an LMG. He's got another 50 to go. He just held down the trigger as he rounded that corner.
Works out well for him. So Smoils, along with some of the others, are also going to be able to potentially get spots. I just heard him calling out some kind of potential info to his teammates. But unfortunately, he's going to be locked down here. He's got Kushberry still to work with him on the inside, but they can't take a risk on pushing outside. Regardless, though, Arsenic and Otto now know that they've been spotted as well. So they're also going to be a bit hesitant for that exact reason, as we see Kushberry's taking down Arsenic when he tries to make a move for some new cover. Oh, look at this, though. Pants running in, going to try to go for the double kill here, as well as now he's got Smoils completely surrounded. Smoils picking up one more on the outside. Does he realize he's got an opponent right here? No! Pants will take him down and gets the double kill.
Smoils on fire here, proving again and again why. Well, there you go.
Now, unfortunately, the effort from Pants, they're not going to end up mattering, as we do see Dr. Killinger picking up the last kill just a second later regardless, and that has now put the beginners at series point, tournament point, and league point here for the VRL and Onward. They are just 1 more away now, uplink or not, from taking control of this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Globochem are back up against the wall right now. They are on defense, though, so that gives them a slight advantage map-wise, but that pressure, again, building. They know they're 1 point away from losing everything. Well, not everything, but 25,000 and the trophy. More importantly than anything, that beautiful, beautiful trophy.
About $10,000 of a difference, I believe, is what they lose. So, and we'll be seeing if that...
I gotta say, at the moment, Smoils, my MVP, that LMG play that we're seeing him crouch out, his communication's on point, his situational awareness is on point, his general awareness and where he's placing himself to be most effective, again, on point. He's on fire over there.
There's massive individual plays coming out from him. That's certainly saved his team more than once in this series, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's all going to come down to the wire here, and once again, it'll have to be beginners on attack here as well. The good news is, though, that because beginners won that initial attack round, they're going to be feeling pretty confident, I feel like, even if they end up dropping the next engagement for themselves here, just because of the fact that they're so far ahead right now. They can afford to let GloboChem potentially take this next round until they get onto defense again, where assumably they would believe they'd have a little bit of a better advantage there.
Well, maybe, but you know, as you keep pointing out, that puts them in 2 points. If GloboChem manages to hold this defense, that puts them on 2 points, which puts GloboChem within reach. If they do an uplink, it would give them 2 points, it would give them the game, it would give them everything.
It's part of the risk they'll have to play into if they end up banking everything not on this upcoming round, but the one following that. But of course, there is still going to be a strategy to try to close out here on offense. And we'll see if they're going to be able to pull that off as the round, well, there we go, right on cue once again, will be starting in the next 10 seconds.
But don't forget, we saw a similar situation in Quarantine where beginners 1 point away from taking everything. They just need to hold out this attack. They need to push it home. They need to make the plays. And again, will Smoils be that pivotal player? He has been again and again throughout the series. Between him and Killingham,
a whole lot of bullets being thrown out there to see if they can maybe get lucky and catch someone from GloboChem going across an unfortunate portion of the map, but I don't think much success is going to be found. They do get a little bit of fire back, I think, from GloboChem there, but not much.
Smoils is becoming synonymous with just making lots and lots of noise.
Pretty much, yeah. Maybe picking up like 3 kills in the process of just making noise. You know? That's the additive. The real goal is for him to make noise, and he does that quite willingly in every single round so far.
All right, so this objective, again, is one we saw beginners take against boss fight with an uplink. Oh, no, actually, no, it's not. It's very similar location, though. It's, again, meters away from the other objective. We can see here a very, very tight defense coming up from GloboChem with only 1 player moving up to the south area. The rest are all on top of the objective, holding that line tightly. They don't want beginners to get anywhere near that uplink. The uplink doesn't matter, though, in this situation. Well, obviously, it always matters, but they don't need 2 points to win. They just need the single point to close us out.
It has still created a very interesting situation, especially considering the spawn position for the beginners, because normally it's very much kind of an east versus west battle on this map, especially if you end up with one of the more central uplinks, whereas this one, it's going to be a little bit different, as beginners are given access to the more northern part of the main village on the west side of the map early on here.
But again, I mean, the beginners are doing such an unusual play. They had 3 players in the north hotel, which is that building is commonly known as the hotel. Killingham taking down Pants, but not, oh no, it's down and out.
Yeah.
Great shots there.
Pants, we're only left with a rolling view of his corpse as he ends up going down the hill there. So that will once again give beginners the advantage to start off the round with GloboChem are down to 4, and that is certainly going to put the pressure right back onto them now, as they have to use these 4 to stay in the match. Otherwise, it goes to beginners, and the trophy along with it.
So tactically speaking, that takedown was really important because it's closed off the entire east side of the map now for GloboChem. That means they have to hold these lines inside these buildings with 0 intel on where the enemy is coming from. The key point of where we saw, I believe it was Pants' position, was not only to try and get pickups, it was the intel to be able to call out those approach vectors. And now without him there, that entire area is open. And so, as GloboChem, you can't afford to peek. You can't afford to be anywhere near those windows. You don't know where the enemy's coming from, so you have to hold the line and let the enemy come to you. You've just basically given up the entire map.
Yep, and they're going to be left with no choice now but to do that, but to play passive and let beginners slowly swarm in and take control, and that's exactly what they've done. Already have moved across pretty much the entire north to south extension of the map, going way down to the start of the southern valley, and they can use that valley to push pretty much directly up on the uplink now if they should so choose.
I think Smoils, unfortunately, has dropped from the game, so it's actually a 4-on-4 situation with the key playmaker, in my opinion, my MVP, not currently in the game.
Well, of course, we'll get our admins on that as soon as possible as well, but that is going to take him out for the round, and the round will continue play as normal. Now an even fight for both teams again, unfortunately, because we have lost that player. But beginners have pulled back disadvantaged situations before, and we're going to have to see if they can pull it off once again, even though it's still even technically. So they're not in hot water just yet here to try and close out on this round.
Look at these picks. Cushberry's just looking for any angle he can find it through any of those doorways. So important. Patience, patience, patience. Just waiting for a pick. GloboChem, in such a situation, they're going to be tempted to try and pick off the enemy approach, but it might backfire against them, especially since, as we can see, Cushberry's is locked in on those doorways and windows.
And as I was talking about before, beginners, we expect them to swarm to the southern valley now that they've taken control of that portion of the map, and they're going to do exactly that with 2 players moving in. Cushberry's will continue to hold the top part of the valley, Right here, this little cleft that leads in towards the village, just to try and see if he can get any players on Globochem peeking him from the window, just to transfer that intel over to his teammates, so that when the advanced team gets through the valley, they can obviously try to swarm those positions as quickly as possible.
Great transition from beginners right now. They put themselves in a really commanding position to attack that objective from the south. Smoke's going out. They don't know if anyone's in White House, but they aren't taking it for granted. They're going to sweep and clear, no doubt, before they try and push on the objective.
Woods and Dr. Killinger about to rush over the hill here and start to make a push in a second. The problem, though, is going to become the same issue that they had 2 rounds back, where they are losing too much time and are going to be forced into a situation that they may not be ready for if they don't get their players in position in time. There's only about 1 minute and 15 seconds left as well. The first trade just now coming in from Globochem, as Arsenic was able to knock out Kushberry. He's not fully dead just yet, but he is in a relatively extended position, so it's going to be difficult to get him back up.
Especially with 1 minute on the clock. I mean, you just don't have time to fall back and get that player up with only 3 people left, with only 1 minute left on the clock, knowing there's still 4 enemies up, knowing the objective is so close. You just can't afford it. You can't afford to fall back.
So now under 1 minute here for the beginners, and they are just going to start to directly push into the open here. It's Icy Woods leading the charge for the beginners as they creep closer and closer. Raphael, along with his teammate upstairs, have not noticed this just yet, and Toast, because this has gotten into the building. Oh, look at this! They're shutting it down. Arsenic does find a trade, but it's only served to even us back out.
He's uploading.
Toast making a move. Is the code going to go in? They could win it on the code here right now. Icy Woods is knocked out, but there's still 2 standing for the beginners on the south side. Globochem, it's the same thing for them, but the beginners have to move in now. There's only 20 seconds left.
Unbelievable. They didn't stop that counterattack. It was open. They could have stopped it, but it didn't come out, and now we see a situation where Woods is down to his pistol.
I don't know how that happened, but Woods is going to have to try and utilize it here as he pushes forward. Where's his teammate at is the only other question remaining here. He's still coming in from the valley. He might try to sweep it and take him out. No time left, as we do end up seeing Woods go down. It will go down, and Globochem take it on the timer.
He waits too long.
Oof, and with that, that'll bring Globochem up to 2. Their capability to win the map has now been activated through an uplink, even though they still trail by 1 point. At the same time, though, this is also going to send the beginners on to defense, where they've had quite the rapid amount of success on this map so far.
My heart actually stopped for a second there. I thought it was over. Kushberry was sweeping in. He could have picked up both players if he had a few more seconds left on the clock. That uplink almost went out. If they were able to shut down that defensive reaction from Globochem, again, all they had to do was stop Raf's circle around, and they weren't able to do so, which stopped the uplink. I bet he was maybe 1 button press away from winning 25,000 then.
Had to have been just a few numbers away, but let's take a look at the replay of that very chaotic end to the round. Very exciting indeed as well here, with beginners left with no time at all to play into it. One of their players forced to push it, nearly is able to send an uplink there. Nearly able to send an uplink at the end of it, but unfortunately falling just short as Globochem were able to successfully interrupt that, taking them down in the process. And as we mentioned on the cast as well, the round being won via the timer there towards the end of it as it ran out, and by default gave Globochem the point.
Kushberry is going to be watching this replay, kicking himself for not being in a better position sooner. If he'd been literally about 10 feet further forward, while Woods 43 was grabbing their attention with his pistol, he easily would have swept both of them up, because they were on top of each other. If you were going to get one, you were going to get both.
With that being said, it's once again offense that is the mortal enemy, I should say, of the beginners here, as they come so close so many times to closing out these rounds, and that time nearly were able to send the uplink code. Had to have been only 1 or 2 digits away from doing it, but just weren't able to send those final codes in, and because of that end up dropping the round because their final players are just too split up and they can't get up to find the 2v2 trades in time.
Beginners have not dropped a defense since quarantine, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds. Okay, only 6 of those would have been defensive rounds, but they have not dropped a defensive round since Suburbia, basically. Which basically means if they can follow that trend, keep that trend strong, they're winning this.
With the way things tend to go in esports, though, this would be the 1 round they drop. We'll have to see on that. As we're back into it, we successfully reconnected the drop player from the beginners, and we're back to a full 5v5.
Again, really unfortunate for beginners to lose Smiles. They came so close to taking it. Would they have taken it with Smiles? We'll never know, but my money's on yes.
Well, let's see, as it could very well come down to the wire here. It's Woods, however, that's going to strike first. Icy Woods specifically picking up an opening frag against Toast, and it is a full kill, so no chance of a res to come in there for Globochem. Once again, just like the last round, they will start with 1 man down early.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Beginners do have a designated marksman. I mean, Woods is doing these long-range kills again and again and again and again, which are just unexpected for Globochem, I'm pretty sure.
That first trade is almost always, I would say, on this map, going by the way of beginners too. So that's been the surprising part for me, considering the fact that, yeah, Globochem does have that much more renowned marksman for themselves, but we just haven't been seeing the power of it shine through here, unfortunately.
No, and it was the same thing against Boss Fight on this exact map. Boss Fight having a renowned designated marksman not reaching his potential. And that's down to the positioning of beginners. They're making sure that they're shutting down those long-range shots. They're not opening themselves up to be taken advantage from.
More players here from specifically the Globochem side of things trying to sweep out of it. They've stuck almost entirely towards the west side of this map, though, so that has limited their viewpoints a tad as they try to sweep across the map itself. But it will very much become a battle of those pushing from the north in this village. Everyone else on beginner is just holding to the south edge of it. Not seeing any flanks being lined up by Globochem either, as they're going to be limited to pretty much just this northern push, as far as I can tell right now.
I mean, this is VR, folks. People lying down. When you see the avatar lying down, they're doing that in real life. When you see them kneeling down, they're doing that in real life. Like everything in this game, a grenade throw, all the movement, the subtle local movements, that's all done in real life. Those people having to practice this, and it wears you down. This is going on and on and on. Both teams are going to be feeling tired about now.
See here as it Smoils again from the beginners, and I see Woods as well. 2 players go down just like that, and again, just like our first kill, they're instant deaths. Those are headshots, so no chance at all for a res to come in.
2 players left now on Globochem. 2 players are all standing between beginners, that trophy, 25,000, and being renowned as the world's greatest Onward players.
Definitely a masterclass performance on defense here for the beginners, and it's looking like it's going to end up with their victory. But still, as you mentioned, those 2 players still standing tall for Globochem, and they are the last hope to save them in this tournament and try to tie us up at 3-3 to send us into a very final round, which will decide the tournament.
It's not over yet.
No, you hear that? Pat's G'ing up his team. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. And he's right, it isn't. These are 2 amazing players. They could pull it out. I'm not betting in their favor, but at the same time, I'm not counting them out.
Certainly trying to keep spirits high for his teammate Raphael at the minimum here, as they're going to go for a bit of a sweep push. One going way out towards the east, across that greater divide in the north as well. And on the west side, we're only going to be left with 1 from Globochem, still pushing in through the main route into the village where the uplink is positioned. They've got a good amount of utility coming in, tossing smokes either right next to or inside of the buildings that beginners are occupying to try and limit their vision and allow them to kind of rush forward a bit here, as time for them is going to be slightly limited too. 2.5. It sounds like a lot. Remember, they don't have a whole lot of intel about where beginners are positioned, so they still need time to figure that out before they actually make the final push.
And they're making a pincer movement here now, which means Globochem have no refrag potential whatsoever. If one of them goes down, the other player can't avenge him.
Pants is going to immediately call that out. He should have a syringe still, and you can hear him taking a few shots. He's not happy about it, and he'll use his syringe to get him back to full HP. Oh, but it won't matter as he's picked off by Woods. 43 anyway. The brothers are doing it again, and they might have just won them the tournament now, as it's down to Raphael, and Raphael alone to try and clutch this for Globochem. Wraps back out. He's going to find himself a fight, but he's not ready for it. The Woods brothers get the last 2 kills, and that will do it. The beginners are your Season 2 VRL champions for Onward.
And much deserved. You saw how they played every single round. They did it. They did it well.
And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. They are your champions, the beginners!
Oh my gosh. Dr. Killinger, talk me through that. You went into this one, we can arguably say, as a little bit the underdogs, as much as that could have been. You took the first one, everybody was excited, let them back in the second one, and then went all the way down and gave everybody here, everybody watching at home a show. Tell us how that was.
it was incredibly exhausting. I can just go to sleep now, just drop. It was an incredible game, as always with GlobalCam. They an incredible team, and they played very well. So it was one of the best games we've ever played.
It was absolutely a pleasure to watch, and as the guy said, there were several times that everybody here was silent. Their hearts were in their throat. You were down, they were close, but they came back. How did you keep your belief? How did you keep the team believing that they could do this?
We have a lot of experience. We built up that strength to come back and to hold our own through over a very long time.
Well, the strength is a perfect moment, guys. I'm not going to stop you here because I know everybody is so excited about this. I know, Woods, from the start you were smiling. Guys, there's something standing right there. I think it's time for you guys to all go. Step forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to make some noise for your VR League champions. It is Beginners! Yeah, that's the medal.
I swear, Beginners going to have to rebrand over to be calling themselves experts as they take that victory there against the top dog over the course of the entire season. We got Dante down there from Downpour. We got Chris, Paula, Nate from Oculus all presenting them medals for their outstanding victory in the 3 maps we did have happen. You know, so many great individual plays, so many great team plays, but Sleepy, individual plays is where it really shined for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of our predictions were accurate, but a few of them were not. A few key players weren't making the plays that they would normally be making, or they got taken in early picks. But yeah, I think some of our play calls for who to watch definitely turned out to be correct.
I believe I predicted this one, if I may.
If I'm not mistaken, into the second map you said that we would have Beginners win 2-0.
My faith was always in Beginners, though.
Oh, here we go.
It never wavered. I actually thought they were going to take that one 2-0. Now they're 2-1, so...
That's fine. If you want to backtrack, that's your own prerogative. But we do have a little bit of time to kind of break down the map, just to kind of obviously talk through what did happen. We did see one play that was really insane. Raphael brought out the Riot Shield to this map and played it in a position to gather information.
Yeah, and something that I myself hadn't seen yet. He took that shield, he went up to the roof of the center hotel there on Downfall, and he utilized the shield to essentially make himself like a defensive turret to where he could gain intel for his team while being almost completely impenetrable to any of their weaponry.
Yeah, I mean, that shield strategy ultimately doesn't pay off for him, though. You know, Beginners did deny that. Some really good shots on those shields, too. You look for the feet, you look for the arms, you get those picks, and I mean, Beginners really proving they're a dominating force that everybody has to be ready to play against.
And obviously, we want to give some credit to GlobalChem as well, because the way they played, knowing that Beginners like to play super passive and super slow, on that final map, we saw them when they were playing defense just literally sit inside buildings and wait. They didn't try to give Beginners an opportunity to pick up an early kill.
Yeah, it was uncharacteristic to see. I feel like they almost went with a kill box defense where they wanted to just stare at the objective and wait for them to get close. It's not really what you see out of them, and it just, you know, wasn't enough to get them that win.
Yeah, I agree. They played it really, really tight, where a lot of times we'll see them push a little bit more, send 1 or 2 people out on some type of flank to come around behind the enemy. We got to see that in Quarantine 1, where Pants took a western flank and came around behind the enemy towards the end and ended up helping to clinch that round. But we didn't see anything like that on Downfall, and I feel like that could have hurt their chances a little bit.
For sure.
All right, well, guys, we are pretty much heading towards the end of the show here, but I want to give you both a quick chance to obviously get some shout-outs and any final thoughts before we do head off.
Well, I'd like to shout out to the Onward community that came out to OC5 here this weekend. Thank you guys for coming out and supporting the game. And, of course, everyone at Oculus and ESL and Intel, everyone for putting on this event. And I'm just super happy to have been here and really happy at the opportunity to run the Analyst Decks with you guys.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that I was brought out for an opportunity to see these spectacular games. I mean, the whole event nearly brought tears to my eyes. So I'm happy I was able to watch such fantastic series, and now I get to hang out with all my friends.
Very true. We get to have some fun tonight. I think drinks are going to be on beginners as they take home the 25,000. But ladies and gentlemen, from Blue, from Radar Head, from Sleepy, from Nightfire, from our production team and our lovely observers that have been here throughout the entire time, and of course myself, we all thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.